Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are at. We are the Back Talk Bros. Aaron and myself, Keas, are here. We're waiting on Gooch, but we're gonna get started with our reaction to tonight's big win for the Chiefs against the Chargers in LA, Arrowhead West. So, Aaron, good to see you again.
You too, man. Let's fucking go.
Right? Yeah, you won't get that. You won't get that from Cole over at his channel, but yeah.
No,
Mike in Sweden with us saying good morning, gents. Mike, it is a lot better morning than it was about 3 hours ago. I'll say that much.
yeah, it
It's
was stressful yet again. They can't just blow somebody out.
right. Drew,
It
good to
isn't.
have you with us. Go ahead.
They're a good team.
Yeah, they are. I'm not sure about their coach. They suffer through injuries, though. I mean, we like to make fun of the Chargers, but they have a really good 53-man roster. They just got to stay healthy and might need a new head coach. But
And
other
training
than those
staff.
two things, yeah, medical staff, training staff, uh, field, all those kinds of things. But yeah, man, FLDB, good to see you. Daryl Miller
Yes,
with us
Frankie.
here. See who else? Larry, haven't seen you
Joe,
before. Welcome
Mike
in.
in Sweden made it.
Yeah, Joe, McCole really did break his TV. He threw his remote. I don't know if you saw that, Aaron, but
I saw people talking about it in the RGR chat.
yeah,
I wasn't sure if it was a joke by McCole or if he actually did it.
yeah, he posted on Twitter a picture of it. So I've seen that before. I might have done that a time or two back in the day.
I know my uncles would put stuff through walls. I think one uncle did break a TV, and then he made these like bricks out
Yeah,
of out of sponges, so it'd keep him from breaking stuff. He'd throw those at the TV.
that's great. All right, I got to put this comment up from Mike. This feels like cheating. Mike says he has Game Pass, so he usually watches the second half live and then rewatches the whole game after work. Like,
Huh?
Mike, you're skipping the whole stress of the first half, man. That doesn't seem
It's
fair.
super smart though.
Right. Yeah. Just tune in the second half when you know the Chiefs are gonna make their well, I don't even know if it's necessarily the Chiefs make the adjustments. I don't know about you,
He's
Aaron,
gotta
but this
he's
is what
gotta
I've
get
seen.
some kind of sleep.
But this is what I've kind of seen. Like, well, two things. One, it seems like in these Chiefs games, the refs have been calling against the Chiefs the whole first half, and then the second half, when they made sure that it's a close game or whatever, or the Chiefs are losing, second half, they start calling it more fair. But the other thing that I've seen
they like
throughout
to
the season, go
they
ahead.
like to make it up with 5 yard penalties though, or
Yeah,
or try to make it up.
yeah. But the other thing that I've seen is, and this might be league wide, watching different games. When the Chiefs aren't playing, I pretty much watch Red Zone channel, so I'm not watching whole games unless there's a game on that really interests me to where I actually watch it. I usually just watch Red Zone channel so I can, you know, get a pretty good general view of each team each week. But what I've noticed, it seems like if Andy and Spags are spot on with their game plan coming into the game, then the second half is a bit dicier because they don't really make adjustments at halftime. It's like everything seems good, right? What do you make an adjustment to? Because the other team hasn't stopped you. They haven't made their adjustment, themselves until halftime. And so when that's the case, there's not much halftime adjustments for the Chiefs and things don't look so great. Uh, and I don't think that Andy or Spags do a great job in-game adjustments. They need that break. They need that halftime to do it. You don't see a whole lot of quarter-to-quarter or drive-to-drive adjustments, in my opinion.
I wish we did see more of it.
Right. It kind of drives me crazy. But when the opposite happens, like in this game, and to be fair to the offense, it really felt, well, I don't want to blame the refs because the reality is don't let it get to third and whatever and put it in the refs' hands to actually call a defensive pass interference when it happens. Take care of business and finish on second down and get first down, right then and there. But defensively, I felt a little bit more comfortable about this game because of that. Like Spags' game plan wasn't good, in my opinion. I'm still mad he didn't do what I wanted him to do. But I felt fairly comfortable because of that. Like at halftime, I felt comfortable. Joe Colin, I have confidence in his defensive line adjustments. It just seems like he's done a great job on his end with that each game. And so, when the defense isn't looking that great, I feel better because I do feel fairly confident they're going to make the halftime adjustments they need to make. It's a matter of how many points they give up until halftime, and then it's really on the other team. And if you don't have a coach who's great at making those in-game adjustments themselves, and I don't think there's a lot of coaches who are that good at making those in-game adjustments, it kind of gives you the benefit. If you watch enough football games, like Bengals game was close for most of that game, right? You watch enough of these games where the Eagles game, that game was close for a good chunk of the game. You watch a lot of these games and it really comes down to the fourth quarter. Our coaches making those in-game adjustments in the fourth quarter, because up to halftime, things are happening and teams make good adjustments. And then you kind of find out who really makes the great adjustments in the fourth quarter in a lot of these games. And that's where you start to see the separation. And I think that's where you see the separation of coaching ability. But anyway, I've been rambling on here. So, Mike, I still think it's cheating.
But very smart.
Very smart. Very heart healthy.
Yeah. I was saying over in the RGR chat that I had about 4 heart attacks.
Oh, man. Yeah, last Sunday, I almost didn't watch last Sunday's game because, when I was sick and my heart rate was already high anyway, I was like checking it on my watch. I'm like, man, if I watch this game. But yeah, Robert, good to have you with us as well. Robert says another close one. Yeah. Joe says we only blow out the NFC for some reason.
Welcome in, Odin's son.
Yep. Well, we're glad you're with us here, Larry, even if it is the first time. And usually Gooch is with us, but he's mostly always late.
See.
He's mostly always late, just like Spags' defensive adjustments.
He says he likes to make an entrance. I thought that was something women do, but I don't know. Where's Holly? She's got to hear that.
Yeah, Joe said, laughing at the fact that the AFC West spent $1 billion on beating the Chiefs and the division is wrapped up before Thanksgiving. Yep, I forget who tweeted that out, but I retweeted it because it's funny to think about. But yeah, let me check to make sure Gooch hasn't sent a message, has he?
Seems like the refs were trying to stop that, but does anybody know, was there a single penalty thrown on the Chargers in the first half? They actually started in the second half, but they were just little bitty 5-yarders. But yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah, I didn't feel like there was. Didn't feel like there was first half. There was certainly a lot that could have been called that wasn't, but Yeah, and that's
There
like
was
the
definitely a
frustrating thing.
pass interference on Gray. That linebacker about tackled him before the ball got there. Never got his head around. Nothing. Oh, what a
This
play!
is how bad they were. Like you had Chargers fans screaming about the Derwin James penalty, like not being a penalty because it's what they had watched all game. Derwin
Well,
James making
you can't
illegal
blame him.
contact and doing stuff like that. That's what I'm saying. That's how bad the refereeing was. Like Chargers fans were trying to argue that wasn't a penalty, and it clearly was. But
Compared to other stuff that was done, though, possibly not.
yeah,
Just because they were getting away with it all game. Why would you call us now?
still blaming the all white unis.
Consistency would be nice
Right.
from a refereeing crew.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. I think
Yes.
fans will deal with this is how you're going to call a game. This is how you're going to call a game for one team that tends to get fans pissed off. Or this is how you're going to call a game for one team for one half, and this is how you're going to call it the other half. Right? It's like the last 2 minutes of the game. If you've been letting this go, you can't throw the penalty for it now type of or flag for it now type of thing. But yeah. Yeah, I forget what I said. Chiefs have a good record with Mahomes wearing the all white unis.
Do they?
But, yeah. I put it in the RGR Discord. I just don't remember what it is offhand now. Probably taking me forever to find it. But it's the red on reds that Mahomes has a losing record with. Yeah, they
I would have
scored.
figured it was good on all counts.
Let's see, what was the score of tonight's game? I want to say this was the lowest scoring Mahomes white on white game, I think.
30-27, I want to say.
Yeah, 30-27. They hadn't
I was
scored.
just so happy that we won.
They hadn't scored less than 34 points wearing white on white with Mahomes as the quarterback before tonight.
Wow. That is not something I would ever check into. Liz doesn't like the white on white.
Some people have some weird superstitions out there, but Charles Goldman usually comes out with uniform articles when that stuff comes out, so he's a good source for that. But
hey, Bill, thank you.
Yeah, Drew says every year the media says the Chargers are going to win the division, and we as Chiefs fans roll our eyes. We do, but legit, that team is not a joke. Good win, tough win. Yeah, they're not. What's a joke is their medical staff. It really, like, there's a point where you kind of, well, maybe depending on what kind of fan you are, you kind of start to feel sorry for Chargers fans because it's a great roster and they just can't seem to stay healthy. 49ers have every other year where they're injured. And of course, it seems like every team we play, everybody comes back from injury that week. So there's something about the Chiefs training staff playing the Chiefs that heals people. So yeah, Joe agrees. Mike's onto something. This is how you avoid the heart attack. Well, the positive for me is there's a ambulance stationed about a block away from me, and we're only about 2 or 3 blocks from the fire station. So
me too, but I got a few years on you.
That's true. But I might have a little more stress from previous years that
8 kids. You probably are more stressed than I am.
Mike says I still got to work and the game starts at 2 a.m. Yeah, Mike, I'm just giving you a hard time. I get it. It's being an American fan is pretty easy, and then we complain when we have a 7:20 p.m. game and have to go to sleep and wake up, let alone having to wake up at 2 a.m. for a game.
It's just been so often in the past few years. Are we gonna have? I think that makes it 6 for the year. Primetime games,
Yeah.
and there could be a couple more.
I think 6 is the cap, right? But we could still lose the Chiefs and Broncos game as a primetime game and maybe pick up another one somewhere else along the way. Right? I think we're maxed out as of right now. As long as they keep that game a primetime game, I think we're maxed out for how many we can have.
So there is a max.
Yeah, I think it's 6. I think it's the cap.
Stated.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Joe says, is it weird that the Chiefs always seem to do better when they're down by 10 at or just after the half? You know, I don't know about you, Aaron, but it feels like this team has some issues with like being undisciplined. Like, and maybe it's just a game prep thing. I think Mahomes looks a lot better now than he used to. Like there were, before this season or maybe last season, there were games where you could just tell pre-game he looked too amped up. But it just really seems like a lot of the time they're just not whatever they're doing pre-game to focus for games. Most of the time, it doesn't seem like it works. That's just my impression. I don't know about yours, Aaron. I don't know about you guys in the chat, but that's just the way it looks to me. Like they don't look, focused to start a lot of these games.
Well, I think it has been more so lately. And I'd have to agree with something Holly said earlier, which was that he's maturing. He seems to be maturing quite a bit more. He's always been mature for his age, and composed for the most part. But yeah, he does like to start games amped up. Typically, I think that's been different this year, though.
Yeah. And maybe he finally found that routine that helps him. Or maybe it's just being a dad now that he's not getting enough sleep to where he doesn't have that extra energy to be amped up. Like I don't think it was, I don't think it was ever an intentional thing. Like I think it was just kind of like a stress response or something. Like he was just really amped up before games, and that to me it seems like that's went away. But the team still seems like they're not focused going into the games. Larry, have a great night. We were glad you're with us. Make sure you come back as well. It was glad to have you with us.
Like, share, subscribe if you can. We'd appreciate it.
Hey, Holly. I know Aaron probably saw you were here about 10 minutes ago, but I just got to your comments. So yeah, welcome in, Holly. Hope you're feeling better.
I do try to wait until you put their comment out before I say anything. I'll try to watch that.
Yeah,
I'll say hi when you get in, but
it's okay. We always end up getting behind. That's fine. Yeah, it was Kent Swanson that had the tweet. Good call there, Joe. And nice. Yeah, not one penalty for the Chargers in the first half. Yeah, and their fans have the audacity to try to say that the Chiefs were given this game by the refs. Like, listen, I mean, here's the thing, like, don't be a blind fan. I'm not just going to go on a rant about the refs against the Chiefs because, Creed got away with a hold that I saw that, there was a face mask or two that we got away with. There were other plays that I saw we got away with. But at the end of the day, the first half of the game, the refs weren't prolonging drives that should have been prolonged with DPI calls that should have been called. They looked like they were purposely trying to kill drives where we were pushing it deep into LA's territory by calling phantom calls. And you take these two things together in the first half, and it ended with the Chargers having a 7-point lead going into halftime and getting the ball back. So,
I
I mean,
saw Saunders getting his face mask held on to.
Right.
I saw somebody getting headlocked.
Dana, you talking about the play where the offensive lineman had his arm?
Yeah.
That
around
was
his
Mike
neck.
Dana. Yeah.
Hey, so, Bill, welcome.
Sorry, that's my second youngest. He's amped up from the game, so kids didn't go to bed early tonight. He's one
excused then.
If anyone was on Twitter, he was the one posted the video of him saying touchdown Kansas City after that second to last touchdown by Travis. But yeah,
that's awesome. Not for number 3 though.
I thought about reposting it, but getting him to actually say the second one when I was recording was hard enough. Like as soon as the light came on my phone, he just kind of stared and smiled.
Yeah, Holly said typically.
Holly says I don't think there was a penalty against the Chargers during the first half. Yeah, Odin's son said so as well. Joe said so. Robert said so.
Crazy. The Chiefs had 54 yards against them.
Yeah, I saw that too, Odin's son. I saw that he was shoved after the punt. I think 2 of them, right? Holly, you can let us know.
Yeah, there was 2 that he straight got taken down.
Yeah, I mean,
there was one that ran into his leg, and there was one that hit him in the chest.
Yeah, I just don't know. Is there a penalty for that? Like, it looks like something that should, right? But he's not a quarterback.
It's at least a 5-yard penalty, though. Running into the kicker is all you have to do to get that penalty.
I thought they eliminated that penalty a few years ago. I thought that all that was remaining was the 15-yarder. Holly, you're the special teams expert. Can you let us know?
There is a 5-yarder, but I think it has to do with them being able to bring their leg down.
Yeah.
If that's interfered with, then it's a penalty.
But I mean, pushing them down.
I would think that's roughing the punter.
I mean, if you look at him like a quarterback, and sorry, Holly, but I do look at them as being more fragile than a quarterback. But
I do too.
I mean, I think just because we think that way doesn't necessarily mean there's a penalty for it, I guess. But yeah, Holly, let us know, because I thought they did away with the 5-yard penalty a couple of years ago, and it's only the roughing, and that involves taking out the plant leg, right? I think. Let's see.
It can. I think it's either leg.
But it says they were
the leg they're bringing down, or the plant leg. I would think. Because that plant leg has nowhere to go. So it could easily get broke.
Yeah.
So was it a hamstring for Tony?
Yep, that's what they were saying.
It seems to be everybody's plan is kill our receivers. Well, they try to kill Travis as well, but
yeah. So Joe says they were holding Karlaftis all day. I saw more than one chokehold. Townsend was roughed twice. Like, I'm all in favor of giving refs a pass when they call it evenly, but they didn't and don't. Yeah, I mean, and that seems to be a common theme this year. I mean, we don't want to spend our time whining about it, but it's certainly a frustration. And so to hear other teams' fans try to say that the refs are helping the Chiefs out, I mean, it's just maddening. It's gaslighting. Like, watch the game and be objective, right? I clearly said, Creed was holding on this play. I saw some of these penalties and they didn't get called. It's okay for you to admit that the Chargers got away with a crap ton of no calls and there were some calls that were called against the Chiefs that specifically were ridiculous and helped the Chargers out.
Yeah, it was one of their third downs
Right there.
that they 3rd and like 7, I want to say, that they completed, that Karlaftis got held really bad. So I think I know what they're talking about on that one.
Yeah, Joe's talking about the crackback call. That was the one on Tony, right? I'm pretty sure that was the call on Tony that was absolutely ridiculous. So
he barely touched the guy. And Bolton barely touched.
Did you get muted, Aaron? What are you thinking? I can't hear you. And figure it out here. Holly says Chargers have won the AFC West every July. That's why I was laughing, Holly. The past couple of seasons, Bills have won the Super Bowl the last couple of Septembers. Yeah, I love the phrasing of that. It's 100% accurate. So yeah, Aaron. Aaron. It looked like you might have been muted or something. Not sure what's going on. Odin Son says, as of tonight, Chiefs are 17-13 record wearing all white. I don't think they played that many games wearing all white, have they? Maybe they have. Maybe I'm just thinking of the record with Mahomes. But Hank Stram outlawed the white. Was it the white on white uniforms after the Chiefs lost Super Bowl I? So the Chiefs didn't even wear white on white again. I think it was white on white. Didn't even wear white on white again until Marty brought white on white back, like 1989, 1990. So, and Aaron's like, how do you know all this jersey trivia? You certainly do have age on us, Mike. So, being heart healthy there in those games is smart strategy. Aaron, if you're talking, I'm still not hearing you, man. Here, let's see if we can. I don't know if that'll help. Uh-oh. We're playing. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. But I'm sure Liz would like to have this power. Andy gives them the side eye at halftime. Yeah, Andy's been really fired up at the refs this year, that's for sure. Holly, glad you're feeling better. Bill, we're glad you're with us as well. What's up? Yep, Chiefs won. We're getting ready to get into our actual reactions of the game. We're gonna give you guys the optimistic, the pessimistic, and the realistic. We're gonna try to hit all three. Hit every fan perspective out there. Let's see if we can actually hear Aaron now.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. There we go. Some kind of little glitch.
Oh, wow. We've got a ton of comments.
So, Ollie says, yeah, Saunders having the face mask held without a call was obvious, but can't complain when we get a W unless it's a flagrant penalty that results in an injury. 12:40 a.m. My brain working here. And Bill's throwing out math here. 15 plus 87 equals touchdown. Also equals Hall of Fame. Might also equal the GOAT combo. See if we can get Gooch in here to argue Montana to Rice. You heard from Gooch yet?
No, I haven't looked at my phone either, though.
He messaged about 10 minutes ago.
Asking if we were done already. I was done for a minute there.
You,
I don't even remember what I was saying either.
yeah, Holly says, what's the point of hitting the punter? I guess try to injure him. I don't know.
Pretty
Intimidation?
much.
I don't know.
Give him the yips. Make him worried he's going to get hit every time, and so he shanks it.
Tommy was acting the one after the punt should have been a penalty. So, here's the thing. I'm glad Tommy's going down now. I want to say his first season, he wasn't good about even trying to go down. But I felt like this was one of the underrated things that Colquitt was amazing at drawing penalties with his acting. Like, I feel like, and maybe it wasn't so much acting. Maybe Colquitt knew exactly, how to make it to actually draw the penalty and protect himself from actually getting injured. But I don't think there was anybody in the whole time Dustin Colquitt was in the league who did as great of a job as drawing those penalties, any punter. But that's just me. Sorry, guys, you got a couple of my kids singing and talking to you.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, we're with you, Joe. Joe says, that's why I was so mad about the crackback, Holly. Last week they slept on Cisco hurting one of our receivers, nearly a second, but Tony gets a personal for having his hands at pad level. Yeah, it was a really bogus penalty. Yeah.
Very weak. He barely touched him, too. I mean,
yeah.
I'll be like, that wasn't holding, and then they show the replay, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it was.
Yeah. Yeah, Holly says, I think a penalty should have been called for hitting Tommy tonight because he's a defenseless player. If it's an unnecessary hit after a play is over, unnecessary. Yeah. Yeah,
that second
I get
one
that.
definitely was.
I get it. I get that it's unnecessary. And I guess, they have their little sideline penalty too, right? That gets thrown for like unnecessarily shoving guys out or whatever it is. So yeah, I get it. When they're trying to say that they're emphasizing player safety and health and everything, yeah, it's extracurricular and it's not needed. So yeah, I mean it felt like something they shouldn't let happen, but by the letter of the law, I don't know that I've ever seen anyone do that to a punter and get flagged, but maybe it's because I've never seen a team have the audacity to keep doing that to a punter. I don't know. Something about playing the Chiefs that brings out the thug in other teams. So, yeah, Bill says, yeah, Cisco got fined 6,500, 6,600, whatever it was for that hit.
I'm guessing it's some kind of percentage of his contract.
Yeah. What I saw online, it should be a straight fine, but I've heard other people argue that it's a percentage of active game contracts. So I don't know.
It was a really weird number. I saw it earlier. It was like 66,
yeah,
50 something.
Someone else this week got the same exact fine for the same infraction. So,
maybe it is a level deal then.
Well, it's not what the NFL has on their website saying what it should be, so I don't know. Maybe there is tiers to it. But here's an interesting tidbit while we're talking about this, though, because I do some research sometimes. Did you know that when players get fined like that so the money all goes to like NFL veterans charity or something helping out former NFL players or whatever. But
Oh, really? I was always like, that should go to the player that got hurt.
I think it's.
I think that should go directly to Juju.
Like I think the NFLPA gets to pick where the money goes, and right now it's designated as to like the former players. But
I kind of like that.
the funny thing is the players kind of get hit twice on this because they still get taxed on that income and they're not allowed to count it as a deduction. Like
That's
I think
dumb.
up to like 4 or 5 years ago they could, and then Congress passed like a law, if I'm recalling correctly, they can't claim it on their taxes because even though it's going to a charity, they're not voluntarily giving that money up. It's being forcefully, they're being forced to contribute to the charity via the fine. So they get fined by the NFL and then they still get taxed on the income anyway. So yeah, Joe says, but no penalty. Cisco should have been taken out of the game after the Juju hit. It was obvious. It was helmet to helmet in replay, and Juju was in fencing posture after they picked up the flag. I actually didn't see the fencing posture on that one. Oh, Gooch is with us.
Hey, boys.
What's up, buddy?
Long day. Oh, I hear nieces and nephews awake.
Yep.
Wow,
I got one up.
Best in the AFC East.
Yeah, I believe so. After losing to the Patriots.
Yeah. In the last seconds, that was crazy. I have New England in one of my leagues.
What's going to be interesting is I'm assuming we're talking about the Jets Patriots. They said Zach Wilson was walking around like he wasn't the problem, and everybody else was.
Who was in when he was hurt?
Flacco.
Flacco had one good game. There was somebody else.
Was that William?
What's his name? Zach White? That's the third quarterback, isn't it? Not Mike White? What is his name?
White does. I think White is right.
Hey, now.
Not trying to rhyme there.
Let's not get racist with the White is
right. Had to get that in there. Thank you, good.
Yep, out of a snowbank. 80 inches and counting. Rob, 80 inches and counting.
Crazy. Oh, man. Crazy. Yep.
6.5 feet. Good Lord.
Yeah, Joe and Bill, I think they were talking about confirmation bias from other teams' fans.
Hey, Holly, are you paying attention? What's going on? It's not letting me do anything.
Yeah, I think we agree with you, Joe, that the league doesn't really care, even though they say they do. There's clearly, we see so much stuff every week that if you cared about player safety, you would take issue with, that you would tackle. Yeah. Let's see what Mike says here. Comparing schedule, who has the best shot at first place and bye in the AFC?
Are you seeing that, Cooch?
I see it. I just refuse to respond to morons.
I'm trying to take it off of there. I'm hoping Holly already did. I'm not seeing it actually go up, so on YouTube. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Holly. She was quicker than I was. I was.
Hey, IP2, if you're still watching this, just know that for me being black, you and I aren't in the same tax bracket.
Please like, share, and subscribe.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Will. Hi, Holly. In my opinion, I'm gonna get off the stupidity, and I'm sorry for that. Ignorance really rubs me the wrong way. You guys are gonna hate this, but I actually think the Dolphins have a really good shot at the number 1 seed. And I only say that because we have the hardest 8 games in the first 8 games in the history of the National Football League, and we are prone to stinkers against teams that we should annihilate. And I really think that like, obviously points for, points against, we're going to beat Miami hands down and all that. And like opponents, I'm sure we're going to beat them in that. But we always manage to toss up one more stinker right before like the playoffs or whatever. Especially now, because our rookies and our young guys, like first year in, AFC West title with what, 6 to spare?
Would we have to lose 2 games, though, for them to get it?
No, because they beat the Bills and we lost to the Bills.
So it would go to like opponents? Okay.
Yeah.
So you think that the Dolphins, I know what has been said is the Ravens have the easiest schedule.
Actually, I was just hearing that the Chiefs have the easiest remaining schedule.
It's really not bad.
I forget who
record.
it was today in the pregame shows was talking about how the Ravens had the easiest remaining schedule, but yeah, I mean, we did just beat the Chargers, so every time you beat a team, you make your schedule look easier because those teams have less wins.
And I just don't trust Lamar throwing the football. Like the Ravens are, I'm not saying he's a running back like everybody else says. He's a quarterback. I've seen him make some special throws. It's just that he doesn't make enough of them for me to be afraid of his arm.
Did you see freaking Demarcus Robinson?
Did he run backwards somewhere?
No. He got 9 catches for 130 yards or something.
In the flag football league?
No.
Yeah, but who did
Baltimore.
they play? Who did they play today?
I
should know this.
Remember.
I had them in fantasy.
It was a tough game from what I hear, though. They barely got out. I don't know.
The Dolphins don't have the easiest schedule. I could see the 49ers, Chargers, Bills, New England, and the Jets still remaining. So I don't know about the Dolphins.
Well, the issue is right
the
now
Ravens.
is that here's the thing: even if
Carolina, that's get played.
If the Bills beat, and Baker Mayfield, yeah, I don't know.
It does kind of make sense.
If the Bills beat the Dolphins the second time, it doesn't matter because the Dolphins on the head-to-head tiebreaker because they won the first one. Like the Bills could legit be a wild card this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the Ravens play Jacksonville, the Broncos, the Steelers, the Browns, Falcons, Steelers again, and Bengals.
That's a pretty easy schedule.
They only got 2 tough games, the Bengals and the Browns. The Browns are a tough team. Mr. Masseuse back there, didn't he play this week?
No, Brissett, but they will be playing against him which will make that offense more formidable, in my opinion. But
Me too.
yeah.
And he's got a year worth of rest, so he's going to be anxious. But once he calms down, I think in the beginning is where you have to get him.
He'll probably start running all over.
If you jump on them early because of all the adrenaline and throwing fast and not, you know what I'm saying, like not give him a chance to calm down. Because once he calms down, let's face it, while we were screaming for Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun was doing some things in Houston. And talent doesn't go well. It depends. My father was a big proponent of if you don't use your talent, God takes it away from you. So, we'll see. Oh, Dan had 5 showers at halftime, he said.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw Dan's Twitter commentary on all the showers he took and the play of events for his responsibility, including adding undershirts and changing out undershirts. And you guys let me know. Let's take a vote on air.
I don't understand how he's counting these showers.
I told Dan that I have a stripper name for him. So let's take a vote. You guys can see if you agree with me or not. But for now on, Dan Talks Football, Dan Andrews shall henceforth be known as Danny Showers.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Shower Dan.
No, it's a stripper name, Danny Showers.
I like that.
I do.
All right, it's agreed upon. It's official now, Dan. You will be known as Danny Showers. Don't forget to check out Danny Showers Show, The Dan Show, live every Tuesday and Friday night at 7 p.m. Central.
Dan Talks Football.
Yeah. What did I say? Oh, I went back to the old show. Yeah. Used to be the Dan Show. Now it's Dan Talks Football, which is what he did during the Dan Show.
Did you guys get your positives for the game yet?
No, we haven't hit any of those. I was telling them at some point we're giving the optimistic stuff takes from the game, the pessimistic takes from the game, and then the realistic takes from the game. But we've been hitting the chat here, waiting for you. So are we almost caught up? I would
like to personally give a game ball to Isaiah Pacheco. Before the season, I said that he would be the starting running back by the bye week. And he just gave the Chiefs their first 100-yard rusher in
since week 4 of last year.
I mean, that kid...
Yeah, a little over a year.
That kid has just basically made CEH irrelevant. And when you have to respect the run game, it makes Mahomes that much more dangerous. In my opinion, usually all you do when you line up the Chiefs is like, they're going to go 5 wide, 4 wide. They're going to chuck it all over the field. All you really need is to stop them, get a couple of stops, and you can beat them. But now you've got a power back who's fast, who can grind away those yards and eat that clock.
Hey, my brother's here.
That's the man right there.
Yeah, Demarcus Robinson, 9 catches, 128 yards. I just added him to my fantasy team. Because this isn't a fluke or anything.
How many of those yards were backwards yards that they just added on?
They always seem to throw to him as he's running forward, so he has no choice to run backwards. It's a smart way to throw to him.
So Joe, I'm not usually going to praise Gooch here, Joe, but let me just say Gooch backed up everything he said, and he drafted Isaiah Pacheco in our fantasy football league. That's how confident he was. Aaron drafted CEH.
And just got rid of him.
And Gooch drafted Pacheco.
And I said, and I think I said this to Keas, because he was like, he's not going to start. That's okay. I'll wait. Right. And I kept him on my bench till probably right before the week they said he was going to start.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Let's look. The kid, I was actually, because Keas streamed it for me, which is awesome, because I get all the freaking New York games, but I don't get the Chiefs. And I could hear the commentators talking about how, that's got to be bad when a 7th round pick takes your 1st round pick spot. He didn't get no snaps, 4 snaps.
Collinsworth even said it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an interesting topic to talk about because Clyde has a high ankle sprain. As we learned with Mike Williams, it's at least a 4-week recovery. Mike Williams tried to do it in 3.5. Kudos to Spags, by the way, by realizing that if he allowed Mike Williams to just simply make a catch and not be covered, that Mike Williams coming down with the ball would be enough for him to re-injure his ankle on his own. So kudos to Spags for that. I'm, of course, being sarcastic there. But with CEH out looking at least 4 weeks, if not more, and I doubt they're really going to rush him back because I don't know what you guys think, but we heard, the lip service from Andy about how they weren't phasing him out and it was just the flow of the game. But it took a little bit for him to get in this game before he got injured. But it still took him a little bit to get in the game, even before he got, not even talking about him getting injured. I think the injury actually made it less awkward for the direction of this game. I don't think they really wanted to play him much. I think they were willing to give him a drive to see, could he be a hot hand? Could he have a repeat performance of week 2 against the Chargers? But I don't think if he didn't show that, I don't think that they really had any intentions of being committed to him in this game. But what do you guys think? Are we finally going to see Rojo? Because we've talked before, Rojo and Clyde they're not the same person, but they have the similar skill sets, and that Clyde can't really pass block. He can catch. So, he has a leg up there over Rojo, but Rojo can't catch and he can't pass block. He's strictly a runner. Do they even bring Rojo up, or are we going to see this really just be what we've already seen in that Pacheco and McKinnon get a lot of the running back snaps?
Okay,
well,
first,
I would have thought that they'd bring him up with McKinnon being hurt, and they didn't. So, and he still played. He's still playing hurt, isn't he?
Who's that?
McKinnon. Even though he's been questionable, and
yeah, I assume so.
Don't think they're trying to reward bad behavior. Andy's not really about that. He's good about giving second chances, but yeah.
First, that's coaches speak. It was the flow of the game. I tell people that all the time. I think you got a lot of potential and you could work out here. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, you're gone as soon as I find your replacement.
If you're one of Gooch's employees and you happen to be catching this stream tonight, brush up that resume.
They already know who they are.
Well, maybe we should do the same, Steve.
You guys are permanent. I don't know. I don't care about that.
I just got this vision, Gooch, of the Geico Pinocchio commercial where he's the motivational speaker. And you have potential. And you have potential.
Did you see Sky come up with some big catches? That boy actually played some today.
Yeah. Hey, he did really well.
Embarrassing Derwin James, like that. He could do whatever he wanted to after that. But doing that on that route was pure gold.
He was coming up clutch.
And I know we're talking Chiefs, and I just, like, Dan has got me, like, all discombobulated down here. But I got 2 things. One, Dallas put a whooping on the Vikings.
Bad.
And 2, I lost it. Oh, did anybody else, when Mahomes got the ball back with 1:15, just look at that and go, well, this game's over? Like it was
Yeah.
almost like the Matrix when Smith has Neo and he's like, you feel that, Mr. Anderson? That's inevitability.
Yeah, what was it? The Chargers had the ball and it was like 3rd and 2, and Staley took a timeout, something like that, right? Right when they were getting ready to score, and I turned to my wife and I said, "That's a mistake. Like, what are you thinking? Why are you wanting to stop the clock here?" You know, I'm talking about the Chargers drive right before that when they scored the touchdown. I think I'm remembering this right. It was like 3rd and 2, and Staley took a timeout, and I'm just like, why? You want the clock to be running here. You want to give us less time. You don't like.
Now he actually talked about that in his presser.
Oh yeah.
He
I was
said,
saying the same thing to Liz.
he said what he was trying to do was stop the roll that Mahomes was on. Because when Mahomes starts getting momentum, he'll pick you apart. And they were already starting to move. So he called the timeout to hopefully break the momentum.
No. I'm talking the Chargers had the ball and
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about when the Chiefs
it was like 3rd and 2 or 3rd and goal or something. The Chargers' last drive when they scored that touchdown.
Oh no, the Chiefs called that timeout, didn't they?
I thought Staley called a timeout.
They initially signaled Chargers, but I think they switched it over to Chiefs because they came out of that huddle real fast and they didn't have time. The Chiefs didn't have time to do their substitution, so Chris Jones called that timeout.
No, I think we're thinking about 2 different plays, but I could.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about that play. I know that. I could be misremembering them calling a timeout, but yeah, we're not talking about the same plays. I could be
my bad.
misremembering a different play.
That was right before halftime, I want to say, Gooch. And
Oh, was it? I thought
thought
that was later. Okay, my bad.
Okay. Yeah, I don't
Maybe
remember.
Gooch watched the same way Mike did.
Mike did. Yeah, I don't know. Unless I'm misremembering, and you guys can tell me in the chat. Unless I'm misremembering, they're the last drive that the Chargers had. Staley called a weird timeout on like 3rd and 2 instead of letting the clock go. And I just remember thinking, this is a mistake. I don't know why you think you need to call a timeout here. You should be letting the clock run.
Collinsworth started talking about us needing to call a timeout, and I'm like, what? We've got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Keas, as your friend, I'm going to say this about what you were talking about just there. And when I say this, I mean this with all due respect. Are you really questioning what he does anymore? This is the same guy who goes for it on 4th and 7 because the analytics tells him to. I wouldn't be surprised at nothing that guy does.
You definitely have a point. And we talked about last night him possibly losing his job after basically this game, I think Steve was saying.
I said if they lose this game, because to me, that's your job as a head coach in the AFC West, is to beat the Chiefs at least once. Like, that's your yearly goal. Your second goal is to then win the AFC West, but baby steps, right? So you at least have to beat them once. But
well, what you need to do in order for that to happen is you need to call the NFL and make sure they don't schedule division games in November and December. Because the Chiefs are 25-0 in November and December.
Yeah, with Mahomes.
Catch us early, because we always end up going on a roll late.
There you go, Gooch. Praise from Dan. You probably already saw it, but Dan said, have to give you guys credit. This summer, I did not agree with you about the Pacheco hype. But yeah.
I thought Watson should have been in over Josh Williams.
I agree with that. I agree with that for wholeheartedly.
I don't know why he's playing instead of Watson. I know Watson played some today, but the big plays were happening against Williams.
Watson got injured, didn't he?
Spags likes his tall, long corners. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's a creature of habit, which is why he let us suffer last year with Sorensen instead of keeping Juan Thornhill in. He has his guys until it starts to look bad and he realizes his job's on the line. But he's not here next year anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Williams is a good tackler from everything I've seen. Like, so I guess we're going to get into the optimistic, pessimistic, realistic stuff here. So the optimistic side of this is all of these young guys got a lot of great experience by making mistakes in this game,
Cook
which
was
is
in
only
there
going
quite a bit.
to help them out moving forward. From a pessimistic standpoint, it's frustrating to see, during the game and, in the game, these are the types of things that can cost you games. So, realistically, I guess is what we won. So, I mean, that's trying to hit every side of it. They made mistakes, but the mistakes are going to be good for them going forward, and we still won. So I don't want to discount the mistakes they made. They do need to learn from them. They do need to watch the film. They do need to improve, and we're expecting that they're going to. And so, in that case, it's like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger type of thing. So, whether it's Williams or Watson, I'm perfectly fine with them making the mistakes now. Now, if they're still making those mistakes in week 16, 17 in the playoffs, I'll be a bit more frustrated with it.
Oh, you waiting on me. Okay. Optimistic. We didn't have Hardman, we didn't have Juju, and we had half of an MVS. And all our other receivers stepped up when they needed to. Obviously, Kelsey's going to be target one, so everybody did what they were supposed to do. Two, for being so young and making mistakes, you held one of the premier wide receivers in the game to 2 catches and less than 50 yards. And he was out there on every passing down. 3, we actually showed we can run the ball. Orlando Brown Jr. didn't look like he was outclassed by anybody, but that's because Bosa was hurt.
He took out Gray, though. Did you see that one? He completely nailed Gray. I don't know why he decided to block Gray, but he did to the ground.
Pessimistic. There was a lot of open routes that Herbert didn't see that we could get burned on by a better, I'm not going to say better quarterback because Herbert is good. Someone with more experience would eat us up, though.
Maybe with a better play caller as well. Like,
that's
I
true.
don't think Joe Lombardi or whatever, I don't think he's really that great of a offensive coordinator, but
I didn't hear Willie Gay's name a lot. So I don't know. Like Eckler got free more than I thought if Willie Gay was going to play.
Yeah.
I mean, he just seemed to be, I don't know where he was. And that defensive line, if your name's not Chris Jones, I don't know what the hell they're doing. Yes, Dana got a sack. I didn't see
Gay did too.
And I could be.
Dana got 2.
Bolton. I thought that was Bolton.
Dana got 2 sacks.
Gay flew to the quarterback.
Yeah.
I didn't see, for the parts of the game that I did see, I did not see Karlaftis around the quarterback.
He got held a few times, but yeah, he had a couple of pressures that they even took the time to point out on the broadcast.
I mean, it just seems like it's still like a work in progress to me.
5 sacks this game.
Realistically, hey, you know what that does? That puts us past the total we had all last year.
Yeah.
I think I think that's 32, and we had 31 last year. Realistically, I think this is a 15-2, 14-3 team.
Yeah, which is at the very, very optimistic end that we had when we were doing the schedule, and so yeah. And one of the things you didn't even point out there, Gooch, Mike Williams was in for just a little bit, made a great catch, then he got injured. So everything the defense did in this game, it was really having one guy out just by being injured.
And Watson just should have definitely been on him. Hey, Maui.
Like I don't know. I wasn't jumping into doing the whole thing, but yeah,
Hello, Crystal.
It was certainly frustrating to see. If we're going to go all in on the pessimistic part here, there is no Mike Williams. You were letting Josh Palmer, Gabe Davis, us, and Allen has a bad hamstring. I don't care how good they said it felt. I said it last night, and I'm doubling down on it. We should have been press manning them. We should have been giving them the same treatment they give Travis. You got 5 yards from the line of scrimmage to do whatever the hell you want to these receivers. You know that Mike Williams has a bad ankle and he can't push off on it. You know that Keenan Allen has a bad hamstring. Make him exhaust the hell out of that hamstring just to fight to get 5 yards down. And I don't care if he beats you deep after that. He shouldn't, because you should have safety help there. But make him fight for those 5 yards like they make Travis fight to get off the line of scrimmage. These are injured guys. There's no reason for it.
We here at the BAK Productions,
here we go.
Do not condone what Keas is sort of insinuating, which is that we should have Nancy Kerrigan, Keenan Allen's.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Why me?
That's not what I'm saying.
I know. I was just having fun, brother.
I still love Nancy Kerrigan. No,
I do too. She went to Disneyland.
I did too when I was younger, but then I grew up and realized she's not as hot as she used to be.
Tanya Harding still is.
Listen, not everybody could be like Betty White and be 95 and very attractive.
I love Betty White.
A lot of that might have been sense of humor, but yeah. But
I did watch The Golden Girls. It was a good show.
I'm just saying, you got to make it hard on those guys. And part of that, it goes back to Herbert as well. When we were giving them cushion, Herbert knew where he was going with the ball. So, you make him hold on to the ball longer, and then you're getting more sacks. Right? Spags definitely got him flustered in this game. Willie Gay's sack, that was what? Was that on the second half drive? It was at a point where it was a big momentum point in the game. I remember that. Kudos to Spags for that. But yeah, so that was my pessimistic side on the defense. You did all this without Mike Williams. We saw what happened before he got injured. So I don't know. I guess if you're going to be super optimistic about this, as you said, no Juju, no McColl, Tony got injured early in the game. You had the refs screwing around with this game the whole first half. You had Pacheco's boneheaded kickoff return. We had other situations. Travis had some drops. There was some concentration issues there. We had some issues, and for all of this, at the end of the day, we ended up winning. And for a lot of this game, it felt like we were ahead 2 or 3 scores. It didn't feel like the game was ever going to be out of hand. to where we couldn't catch up and win. It just felt like the defense has to make a couple stops and the offense actually has to finish drives. So I guess that's another optimistic thing there. Realistically, though, man, I just want to see some more discipline out of players. I love Nick Bolton. I've eaten my crow on Nick Bolton. He had what, 2 fouls, and he could have had a third one that they could have called on him and didn't. He could have had 3 15-yard
closed the
penalties in this
game out.
So you got to play smarter there. I'm not going to dog him. Ultimately, Christian Jones has had some of those boneheaded plays. I understand, the defensive killer mentality. I also nothing pisses me off more as a fan. So I empathize with defensive players, but nothing pisses me off more than a fan in watching the other team's quarterback take off running. And I'm just yelling, hit him, hit him, hit him. So, I get Bolton's frustration on that play. Ultimately we won, but you still have to clean up those things. Just because we won doesn't mean you overlook those things. Just because Bolton made the play on the interception at the end of the game doesn't mean you overlook those. Those are still things they have to clean up on. Those are, that's still something he's got to do better at. The Pacheco.
I've never seen him do that before, though.
Yeah, he seemed to be really amped up in this game. I don't remember. Was there something in the first game that he was like this as well? I don't know.
Not that I didn't remember.
I think Eckler was barking at him early on, so that might have got him. But the Pacheco kickoff return thing was beyond frustrating. That was such a huge momentum killer.
He could have stuck his foot out of bounds and then caught it.
Stick your foot out of bounds, then catch it.
We got the ball at the 40?
Yeah. And instead it was like what, the 7?
6?
5, 6, 7, 8, something. I mean, and it wasn't even so much his mistake. It's the fact that it's a continual theme throughout the season. The Tobe special teams have been screwing up. And he gets a lot of praise because, he picked Tommy and Tommy's doing great. He gets a lot of praise because he picked Butker off of Carolina's practice squad, and Butker has been the second most accurate kicker in NFL history.
So he can pick the talent. He just can't coach the talent. Or doesn't try to. I don't know.
Those are your words, but I will say this: back when he was really being grilled about why Butker was missing extra points, he didn't really sound like a man who technically knew what went into kicking field goals in the answer he gave. But
Butker definitely did.
Maybe that's because he didn't want to give anything away. So, but regardless,
Butker kind of has that engineering mind, and he definitely knows what goes into it. Yeah. He's very articulate about it.
I don't want to harp on him, and I don't want to do it just because Dan Harms is wrong when he says that extra points don't matter. But listen, did anyone at the end of this game, when Butker was kicking that extra point to make it 30-27, think if he doesn't make this, it doesn't matter?
Definitely not. Liz couldn't watch.
Not at all.
I
was sick to my stomach. The thing is, you can't just say he
hit it perfect.
That frustrates me about our fan base. Like, you can't be critical or realistic about any player. The fact of the matter is Justin Tucker is the most accurate kicker in NFL history. He isn't missing PATs. He can hit both the 60-yard game winner and he can hit every single PAT he kicks. It's not out of the realm of fandom to expect your kicker to make a PAT. I understand it's no longer 100% give me since they moved it back, but it still has to be as close to that as possible. So anyway, kind of a
Okay,
little bit of a
so
rant there, but
yeah,
you got to know the
but
rules. You have to either let it roll out of bounds or touch the sideline with your foot and then touch the ball. You got to start at the 40. You can't start at the 6. That's a huge momentum swing.
I
And it
think
killed
it
our
would have
offense.
gone out of bounds if he didn't do anything.
Yeah. I mean, it might have. I can understand touching it to guarantee, if you can get your foot on the sideline, touch it and make sure, then you don't have to worry about it. But
Right. That's what I would have done. Since it happened to us, I think it was the Chargers. It seems like.
And just to chime in on a quick minute, when we scored that touchdown and Bucker was lined up to kick it, I was like, of course this will be the one he misses.
Liz covered her eyes like a little kid. I can't watch. She does that a lot on the extra points, though.
is this do you think this is an organizational
Again,
thing, Gooch? Like we all joke around, you're not nervous if the Chiefs have 3rd and 7 or greater. But all of a sudden, if the Chiefs have 3rd and 2, you get really nervous if they have to convert that, right? Like you see a similarity there. Like you don't sweat about Butker if he has to make a 55-yard game winner, but if he's got to make the extra point, that's the difference between the Chargers being able to go down the field and kick the tying field goal or the game-winning field goal. You start to stress it. So is this an organizational thing that we see it bleed over into all these areas where you're actually happy to see 3rd and 7, 3rd and 15, versus 3rd and 2, where, you're happy to see Butker lining up to kick a 55-yard game winner versus kicking the extra point?
I actually had one of my heart attacks on the 3rd and 17, deep in our own territory.
Sorry, I don't know if it's organizational more so than maybe a little, not coach wise, but player wise, reading their own press clippings, knowing they're good and this should be easy, so they don't focus like they should. I mean, they say for Mahomes, when he's down, he really focuses in because he wants to win. So that's that competitive nature. But on the flip side, Bucker knows he's the 2nd most accurate kicker in NFL history. A 30-yard field goal should be nothing. You know what I'm saying? So then you don't think about it as much as you would. I really got to nail this like this for this to go in because of the wind and this, that, and the other. Because like you said, it should be a gimme. And I'm sure that's what they're thinking. And kicking is hard. I do not presume to know how hard it is to really kick a 25-yard field goal with 11 men who run 4.5 or faster chasing after you. But if that's your only job, you should be a master of your craft and shouldn't lose focus and push in or slice in a kick. I don't think it's organizational. I think it's just player. Huh?
That's the one thing you do, is what Liz always says.
Right.
Well, I think if you're Harrison, you make friends with Justin Tucker and you start talking to him about his process. But I think maybe part of it comes into play in how they practice. And I know Mitch Schwartz had a couple of tweets about the Pacheco thing, and yeah, your adrenaline's pumping and all of a sudden, your brain's not working. My question is, are you practicing that? In practice, are you practicing that particular situation every week so that that gets reinforced in a player's mind? Is Butker practicing PATs during the week? Is he practicing 30-yard field goals? Or is he out there mostly practicing 50, 55, 60? Let's see how far I can make it from in practice today, and then working on his different kickoffs. are they practicing the mundane? Are they practicing, the given skills so that when it comes to them, they can be more automatic with those, I guess is what I would kind of question it and wonder, because it does seem like we do see it in all aspects of this team. So to me, it could be kind of part of the practice philosophy.
Well, on the optimistic side, he was 100% today. I will definitely take it. Also, on the very optimistic side, we do know that Orlando Brown Jr. can block somebody. He just needs to get the pass rushers and not his own guys. Don't go after Gray. What are you looking at? I don't I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, I don't know.
What else was there? The obvious game balls would be Mahomes and Kelsey. I'd like to give it to Sky. I think he really came up clutch. I think Dunlap showed quite a bit. Frank Clark did get some pressure. Karlaftis got some pressure. And Chris Jones is a beast. He's another obvious possible game ball. Pessimistic. I am not feeling great about Joshua Williams now. I would much rather have Watson in his place, especially against somebody like Mike Williams or Keenan Allen. He's just a bigger body guy. They can get more physical. Realistically, yeah, we need to keep an eye on Butker. Tobe, I don't know about him staying with the team. Andy loves him and made him an assistant coach, so
yeah,
I don't know what to think about that. He's too good of friends with him. Same thing with Spags. Spags is not reacting quick enough.
That's Nagy's team
Adjusting
when
enough.
Andy retires.
I'd have to agree with you. I thought they were trying for Bieniemy, but I think you're right. It's going to be Nagy.
Yeah, I think the Tobe thing was a few years ago. There was rumors about teams interested in him as their head coach, so they made him assistant head coach in addition to special teams to kind of, make him happy about staying. But special teams has definitely not been good this year, and the analytics are out there to back that up. And you got to think about all the good parts of special teams that are being propped up, and the whole return game has been terrible. Like, that's really what we're talking about, right? We're not talking about kickoff coverage. We're not even talking about.
I was definitely holding my breath with the punt return of Sky, Adam.
I was
get
so
very
angry.
frustrated with
I was
special
so
teams
angry.
altogether. Right?
Oh man. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. So Joe says if Rojo comes up, I'm betting it's for 3rd and shorts. Joe, I don't like that. And the reason why is because he can't pass block and he can't catch. So if you bring him into the game, you're doing one of two things. You're telling the defense that you're running and you're handing the ball off to him, or you're wasting one of your 11 guys out there and you have a guy you can't utilize. You're either running it or you're wasting him. He can't pass block and he can't catch. So if he's on the field on 3rd down, it's got to be to run. And if
Can
it's
he
not,
run block?
And if it's not, you're wasting one of your guys. You're wasting one of your 5 targets. So for that reason, I don't like that. I don't want to see him come up and run and be on the field on 3rd and short. That's one of the great things about McKinnon. one of the things about Pacheco, he's getting there, right? If one of those two guys, another reason I don't like Clyde being on the field on third down. If McKinnon or Pacheco is on the field on third down, they could be pass blocking, they could be receiving, they could be running. You can't key on one of the, you can't key on just one of those three, like you can if it's CEH or if it's Rojo on the field on third and short. So for that reason, I don't like it. But I mean, I guess if they're going to run the ball on third down, I think the fullback handoff is kind of getting predictable now. So, they got to do something there, but
I could see him acting as a fullback on a third and short for a jet sweep or something.
yeah.
Line him up like in the slot.
Right.
Chances are he's not going to be thrown to. Yeah, you're right. It's kind of stone hands, but
Yeah, I mean, I
wouldn't
guess
mind seeing that.
if you line him up in the backfield and then you gave Pat an option, like if you had Sky Moore or whatever receiver is healthy, come do a jet motion and Pat's got the option to hand it off to Rojo running one way or to Sky Moore coming across going the opposite way, and you're using it as a decoy. That makes sense, I guess. So that's that's the second reason to use them. But yeah, I would just think that McKinnon or Pacheco is more effective overall on third down, because the moment you see him out there, and I don't know if you guys saw this at all, but at one moment early in the game, they got Spags on the sideline, and you could see his notes on his card, and he had a note about it said something like which running back is in the game, ? Like that, that's what they were keying off of. Is Eckler in the game or is the other guy in the game? Right. So, I mean, defensive coordinators are paying attention to who the running back is in the game, because it tells them, it eliminates a lot of different plays that they will run. Again, one of the reasons Ronald Jones is still not with Tampa Bay, if he could be a 3-down back, Tom Brady would have never let him leave. So I just want to say that, because listen, I'm fine with us bringing him up and we can see what he has on some first and second downs and go from there. But I don't want to see him on third downs, because anything that makes your offense more predictable to me is something I absolutely don't want to do.
You've got a point, but he'd usually be in for short yardage or just to spell the guys. But yeah, I wouldn't mind handing it to McKinnon on a third and short, or so it's less predictable.
Right. And to be honest, it's not fair to Rojo if you're going to put him in that situation. And
when he hasn't played all year, especially.
And we had that in the game. I don't remember what point it was. Was that in the third quarter? I think maybe when we had 3rd and 1, and there were 4 guys lined up, taking away the A gaps and maybe the B gaps. I don't remember, but they had 4 defensive linemen lined up right there. And we ran the ball on 3rd and 1. And it was absolutely stupid. Like, I don't know if, I know there's some talk in the RGR Discord. I can't imagine that Mahomes doesn't have the power to audible there, but he should have audibled there. You don't see 4 defensive linemen lined up. Creed had 1 defensive lineman on both sides of his shoulders, and there were 2 other defensive linemen right there. They were taking the A and B gaps away or crashing the A gaps hard on that play, and we still ran it right up the middle. Like, that was like one of the dumbest moments in the game for the offense. And it wouldn't be fair to try to do something like that with Rojo. But if other teams know all he can do is run, they're going to do something similar like that. That's the thing that scares me about Rojo. CEH, he can do some of that stuff, not very well, but well enough that you don't 100% know, is CEH out there just to take the handoff or not, right? Rojo in his career, he's basically only been good at that to where you do know he's probably taken the handoff. Yeah. Adam says Jones fills the roster but won't play.
I could easily see that too.
Bill says Rojo fumbled a lot in Tampa. Yeah, I didn't pay attention that much. We were like 35 minutes behind here.
I thought Fournette did too.
Sorry, I had some diatribes there. Yeah, I'm not really worried about Sky. You know, I don't think they were ever in a rush to get him on the field very much because you have a deep receiving room. The tight ends are great receivers. You know, that's something to talk about. They came out and showed Jody the first drive or two. Did he play much after that? I don't remember seeing him out there much after that.
I don't remember. I don't remember seeing him much either now.
You guys in the chat, let us know.
I thought they'd play. Gray definitely played a lot. And he definitely got interfered with on that one.
Oh. Did we take care of that? Got some junk in the
I'm
chat.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Holly took care of it.
It's been about 30 minutes, so I'm assuming so.
I was looking.
1 minute, 32 seconds, and 2 timeouts. Robert,
I was worried about time whatsoever.
Okay, that's what he's talking about.
Well, he's also talking about when the play that you were talking about.
Yeah,
they took the timeout.
Yeah, I swear I'm remembering that right. It like Gooch said, why am I surprised by anything Staley? Well, the answer to that question, Gooch, is why I'm surprised is because I believe that people can grow and improve. And so that's why I'm surprised. Like when people don't grow and improve, I'm surprised. So I guess in that way, there's my blind optimism for you guys. I guess I get a little Pollyannish with people growing and improving as persons. I do think Staley's grown. He didn't go for it on that 4th down at their own 30 or whatever.
I was surprised.
Right?
I'm like, wow, they're punting? I figured it was going to be another quarterback sneak.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seemed like last year, right? It seemed like last year they had no respect for our defense, and they didn't care if they got to 4. If it was like 4th and 2 or less, they felt really confident they were just going to, convert every first down.
I figured it was because they were scared.
Well, I mean, they weren't the only team that did that, though. Like the Ravens played us that way. It seems like
because we score a lot of points.
And our defense.
That's how I took it.
And our defense was giving up a lot. But this 4th down defense this year, I have a lot of confidence in. I don't have, all confidence in them, but I have a good deal of confidence in them, especially if you try to run the ball to pick up that first down. A lot of the times they're going to win that one. So Adam says, I hold my breath every time Sky touches the ball, though, more because of his stature and the routes he is running. I just expect the ball to go flying. Yeah,
I'm good when he's a receiver. I am holding my breath when he's a punt returner.
Yeah.
I think he's a good receiver. I think he will be a good receiver, I guess I should say.
Looks like Dan left a little bit ago to go take victory shower or two.
I don't understand how he counts this. How do you take 5 showers at halftime?
Oh, man.
Is it minutes? It's got to be minutes, right?
Now we know why Dan bets. He's got to make this extra money to pay this water bill.
Yeah, okay. But keep
Joe
winning
says-
us games, buddy.
Joe says Sky needs to polish his route running, work on his hands a bit, but the tools are there. He's just raw. Good night, Danny Showers.
Yeah. I forgot about that already.
Oh, I'm not letting him live it down. Danny Showers.
Yes, please hit the like, share on all social media.
Don't think you can fire him. Who are we talking about here, Adam? We talking about Tobe? We talking about Spags? We talking about Staley? Maybe
I'd
that
have
answer
to
is
say
far
Tobe.
wrong.
Oh, Staley. That's who Adam was talking about.
Well, here's the thing, Joe. If you're consistent in doing it, when you're wrong, you can blame it on the numbers, right? Like, here's my problem with this part of analytics.
I think he's
And
a hell of a gambler, too.
Going off the statistics, right? These numbers come by the average team, right? They don't take into account enough variables to help you make the best decision. Like, you can't just make decisions based off the statistics, because the statistics are taken over the average of 32 teams, 32 quarterbacks, 32 coaches, 32 rosters, right? Weekly injury, situations, like there's all of these factors, in-game factors like wind and precipitation or whatever. There's so many factors that go into what happens in each given moment that at a certain point it becomes robbed of context. And that's where the head coach, in my opinion, anyway, that's where the head coach has to be able to look at these statistics and understand, the context of the game and how those statistics can help them. Right. It's like we said, it seemed like last year, it seemed like Staley was going for every fourth down, and we were stuffing a good deal of those. Like, you have to understand the context of the game. If you've seen there's a gambler's mentality, right? Like, I just got to keep betting the money because eventually I'm going to win. I'm already in 28 bets and I've lost every single one of them. Statistically, I'm going to win the next 28, right? Because if you flip a coin 100 times, it's statistically, it's going to turn up heads 50 times and it's going to turn up tails 50 times. Statistically, yes. It doesn't mean it's going to happen in real life, because you can flip that coin 100 times and it can land on tails every 100 times. Eventually, down the way, the more you flip it, it'll even out. So you have to understand the context, and you have to understand that aspect of it too. And if Dan were still here, he could probably go into that a lot more on the betting side of things. But, I think that's the big thing. You have to understand the context. And one of the things is, when Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback on the other side, that context is way different. So.
Okay.
Who are we talking about? A year of rust. Sorry, Mike.
Rojo.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I can't even talk about the time, Mike, because you've been up way longer than
Well, he had to get up for work.
Yeah. Adam says you can't punish Staley for losing to the best. He's a bit of a gambler, but I think he's done a decent job there. He annoys the hell out of me, so he's doing something right.
It's kind of what I was saying last night when we got onto the Staley subject. And I think coaches should get 2 years before they're fired. I don't think you should fire them after 1 unless they don't know who Aaron Donald is.
Yeah.
Then they're just an idiot. Obviously incompetent.
I mean, I would consider him as my defensive coordinator. I think one of the biggest strikes against Staley, though, is for, everything you want to say, you still go back to last year against the Raiders, when all he had to do was not call the timeout and piss the Raiders off. All he had to do is not take a timeout, and you go to the playoffs. and you're so arrogant that you call the timeout and you screw your team out of the playoffs. Like,
Which is a good reason Flores should have still been coaching.
Holly asked, did Bryan Cook play tonight? Didn't see him and wondering about his progress. Yes, he played.
He played
Holly,
quite a bit.
He was, I believe, the one covering on, was it the Chargers' final touchdown or the second to last touchdown they scored? Pretty sure that was Cook who was covering on that one.
He saved one also, but he might have given it up right after that.
Yeah. I don't think he had a great game. I think he was in on some tackles I can remember. But
I'm hoping he learned from mistakes.
Yeah. I think he was covering on that last touchdown. But, I mean, to be fair to him, it's really hard to cover a guy on a crossing route like that. But, yeah. Yeah, and then some people.
I think we need to get away from zone as well. I don't like seeing zone.
Oh, yeah. Adam points that out here. Sorry. I just had to get far enough in the chat, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah. So Adam confirmed it. Kind of responsible for that last touchdown. Bill says hopes that Sean Payton isn't the new coach of the Chargers when Staley gets fired. Yeah, I hope not. I hope not. And I hope he respects Mahomes enough that he doesn't want to do that. But if he did and they found a way to stay healthy, that team would be really scary.
I could see him really liking Herbert too.
Because it's a good team. They just got to stay healthy. And I do think they need a better coach.
I think they get a better training staff in there as well.
Holly asks about Eckler. What do you think about our inability to defend him? I'm going to look forward to. I'm going to look forward to going back and watching this game. I don't think Spags was using Willie very much to defend Eckler, and I think that was a mistake. I could be wrong on that, but I don't.
We were definitely calling for it last night.
Yeah, I think that was what you had to do. You had to have Willie playing Eckler this game. Bolton can't do it. I'm not knocking Bolton. He doesn't have that kind of lateral quickness.
Also, boys, though, I mean, Eckler has made some of the best defenders in the world look silly.
Exactly.
So even if he used them correctly, there's no guarantee you'd be able to stop him. Eckler's been doing this for a while. And sometimes, in all honesty, as a defensive coordinator, just like with us, pick your poison. You know what I'm saying? We normally don't have a running game. We had one today, but we were missing, like I said, our second top target in the receiver room. Hardman, our gadget guy, and probably our third top target. I mean, Kadarius Toney played one play and was out with a hamstring. Like, our wide receiver room was a mash unit. We just had Pacheco to make them honest. Mike Williams got hurt, but if Mike Williams doesn't get hurt, you know you're trying to stop him and Keenan Allen more so than stop Eckler. I'm just saying, like, before we trash his use of Willie, we have to remember that Eckler's been a Pro Bowl player every year except last year when he got hurt most of the season. And I mean, it's hard to keep up with a guy like that. I just want to put some respect on it. That's all.
Yeah, Adam's
gotten a lot of touchdowns before this game.
Adam said that in the comments as well. But I'll just say this, because I have it on great authority to Chargers fans on Twitter before this game, that Austin Eckler was nothing until Justin Herbert became the quarterback, and Justin Herbert made Austin Eckler. And that's why Eckler is as good as he is. Not because he's good and not because Herbert has weapons. It's because Herbert made Austin Eckler good.
I think Melvin Gordon made him good by giving him a chance. He's been good since he hit the scene.
Yeah,
I disagree with that.
there is a lot of dumb Chargers fans out there.
I think Eckler was eating something before Herbert got there.
If you guys couldn't hear the sarcasm in my voice, I apologize. But again, that was an argument a Chargers fan was making before this game, is that Herbert doesn't have weapons. Herbert made Austin Eckler. And so basically saying that Eckler isn't good, he's only good because of Herbert.
Anybody that believes that is a bandwagon Chargers fan. Like I hate the Chargers, but even I know Eckler was all their offense for a while. Eckler and Keenan Allen. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And our fault for not noticing the sarcasm, Keys. We hadn't heard your voice for like 3 weeks, brother.
Especially you like to fall asleep on the toilet. So
I am really behind here. Maui, if you're still with us, and Crystal, if you're still with us, we're glad you guys stopped in. Good to see you here.
Thank you for stopping in if you're not here anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
150 Crystal was here, so
okay, good. Crystal, it's good to have you with us. About 40 minutes behind here. Only Kansas City Chiefs could have pulled off that win. Yeah,
I agree. That 3rd and 17, I actually got pretty damn nervous. And then we converted, and I was like, I don't know why I was nervous. We usually get those.
Right. I think
but it was getting close to the end of the game.
Again, I think that, if it's 3rd and 2, that's where you really start to get nervous. Like,
hey,
and I don't.
Definitely a good point.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to. Who did we play in that Monday night game? Was that the Chargers?
We played them Thursday night.
Yeah,
the second
week 2, Thursday night.
Okay, so that wasn't the 4-touchdown game?
No, that was the Raiders, I believe.
So in 2 games against the AFC West, Travis has 7 of his 10 total touchdowns.
11.
Is it 11? No, it's 10.
Yeah.
He had 7 and then 3, right? 3 and 8 and 3. You're right.
Yeah.
Because Devontae had 2 today, and he was leading the league in touchdowns at 10.
And I had a feeling Kelsey was going to do this.
Yeah.
I never said anything.
Danny Showers called this on Twitter before the game. So
what's that?
That he thought Kelsey was going to have a big game.
Huh.
Yeah. It would be tough for me to call that because of Derwin James.
Right. Yeah, that's why I was surprised. But yeah, Adam says Spags isn't a press or bump kind of guy. Adam, we get that. I still call for it every week when we play a team.
He needs to grow as well.
Yeah,
But
a lot of these quarterbacks, like you can't play off zone and let the receivers have all this space to get going. You can't let the quarterback,
especially on a 3rd and 2.
We haven't had the pass rush for it. We have Jones, and the pass rush has been getting better, yes. But generally, we don't have the pass rush to let the quarterback and receiver keep their timing and have a pass within 2.5 seconds or less. Like, that's my thing. We've seen teams just throw Travis around. They take full advantage of legally being able to do whatever they want for those first 5 yards. I just think you got to do it. You got to make Herbert hold on to the ball. You got to throw that timing off. And in this game, particularly when you have a guy coming off a hamstring issue and you have a guy coming off of a high ankle sprain where you have to push off your legs, I think that fighting at the line of scrimmage is strategically smart. I'm not saying injure the guys. I'm just saying take advantage of the fact they're already injured. Maybe that's the same thing. I'm not trying to be semantically
well, you're not going after their legs specifically.
Right.
I need to jump in for a minute on a different topic real quick. Just because
is it the Blanche is hot topic?
Yes.
Hey, Joe.
I completely agree, Hefe.
Joe,
man.
everybody, this is all the pundits want to discredit the Chiefs' wins, like say the Titans when we beat the Titans in overtime because the Bills beat them by a lot, but the Bills beat a depleted Titans defense, and we got them when most of their guys were back. And I don't care what anybody says about it being just the Titans. Vrabel is a hell of a coach, and his team are always disciplined and play sound against everybody. And then they're going to say, oh, the Chargers were injured. On defense, they have some really good players that you could see tonight. Like, we get everybody, even though the Bengals won the AFC last year, everybody knows the road to the Super Bowl still comes through Kansas City. And until you really, really knock off the Chiefs, we're going to get everybody's A game. Now, Buffalo is the fluff pick. Oh, it's their time, this, that, and the other. They haven't won anything. You know what I'm saying? They haven't won anything. The fact that they beat the Chiefs in the regular season 24-20, we didn't have our best game. We ran vanilla offense, and Patrick threw an interception. They beat us last year in the regular season.
We didn't have Butker for that one, right?
Right. So we don't buy into they're beat up, because all of us knew, we were talking about it last night before the snow cut me off. We knew Mike Williams and Keenan Allen were going to play. Oh, it's a game time decision. My ass. You know they're playing. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't subscribe to they were beat up, because that's what it's going to be now. Oh, you guys barely beat the Chargers and they only had this, that, and the other. They've got a young Pro Bowl quarterback, an all-pro receiver who was playing. Eckler's a Pro Bowl running back. Derwin James on that end. The only real piece they were missing was Bosa.
Yeah.
And they kept it tight. They always keep it tight.
Mike Williams.
Right. Mike Williams got hurt, but he should have been out there
banged
anyway.
up too.
Yeah.
Especially our receivers.
Sorry.
Aaron Adam wants to know, how frustrated were you?
I was very frustrated.
What is he asking if he was right about? Is this a brother to brother inside type of thing?
If it is, you gotta let your other brothers in.
I don't believe it was, but I think it had something to do with Sky Moore and the punt returning.
I was gonna come see you guys for Thanksgiving. Hopefully the snow melts so I can get out of here.
Yeah. I got 2 Thanksgivings. I can have 3.
I had planned, like, I even was like, I was gonna show up early and like bring turkey.
Liz said something about going to her mom's, which is like a mile and a half away, to my mom, and my mom took that as, we're not coming to Thanksgiving. And I'm like, no, she was not saying that. She's just saying we don't have to go to Liberty. All the way up to Liberty. So we'll be close and not have to leave so fast. Adam, are you coming for Thanksgiving? You and my new sister?
Oh, is this the one that got married during the Chiefs game?
Uh-huh.
Congratulations, Adam, and shame on you, Adam, all in the same breath.
It was scheduled for the bye originally, but I don't know what happened. Stuff came up. But I was able to, the actual ceremony was like 10 to 15 minutes long.
Damn, so what you're telling me is Adam was already getting the wife treatment before he made her the wife.
I suppose. So, yeah, I was able to look at my phone almost the whole time and kept telling everybody what was going on. Sorry, I started reading. Damn words make me read.
So Joe says Tobe gets a lot of credit off of Devin Hester from about 1,000 years ago. Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. He's still nationally, when you hear the announcers talk about him, it's because he's well known, and a lot of that has to do with his work from the Bears. But not to discount, again, as I said earlier, the weakness right now with special teams is the return units, like the kick coverage team, the punt coverage team. For the most part, our kicker and our punter, like there's not issues with those things. It is the returners, you know, for the most part, and Butker not being able to figure out why he misses on the PATs. Like, it's three things out of how many things that special teams is responsible for. I guess you could throw in part of the return game, how aggressive Tobe is with that, because it has killed us offensively on field position a good chunk, and seemingly more and more this year than in years past. And you can chalk some of that into the youth movement, because we did lose some of those special teams guys. I don't remember in this game, was Lamons was out, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't a
Bush is 26, right? Number 26.
Yeah, yes.
I can't think of what Lamon's number is, because I thought it was him at first, but I was like, no, that's got to be Bush, I think.
Yeah, I think Lamons was out for this game. But
I like the way Joe put this comment, and it's true. I think that's what it all boils down to, is finding Hester years ago. But here's the text Adam sent is, hope you guys are ready for the most frustrating game of the year. And I was like, not really. He laughed, and I said, I hope it's not. He did too, but yeah, he was right. Damn it.
Let's see, what are we talking about here? I missed something here, Crystal. Sorry. Are we talking about the McKinnon fumble there? I don't know if that's what Crystal's talking about. Three players after you, and you're using one hand to hold the ball. Chances are you're going to lose it. Both hands are on the ball. Or maybe we're talking about Rojo. I'm not sure. Sorry, Crystal.
I would think it's McKinnon.
Yeah, I think at that point he was really surprised that he had someone behind him. I think really is part of what it was. Like, unless you're CEH in that first game where he ran those 50 yards with both hands over the ball. Like when you see the contact coming, forward, like straight on, it's a lot easier. You don't expect to get the ball punched out from behind on a run like that. But that was also perfect timing. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it happened to be when his arm was coming up. So like the ball was, at the least secure part of his run, of his arms moving while he was running. But I don't know. I think that one's a hard one. I think
perfect
the most
punch.
Yeah, it was a great punch. I think the hardest play as a running back is when they put their helmet on the ball. Like, it's almost impossible to hold on to it there. And I don't think we give guys enough credit for these types of plays when they do hold on to the ball. But I also think our defense isn't coached as well at things like punching out the ball. Because I think there's an art to it. And Gooch talked about Vrabel. I've said it multiple times. I think Mike Vrabel is a top 5 coach. And you see what he does with a team full of, I don't want to say a team full of scrubs, but that offense ain't that great outside of Derrick Henry. And the defense, you want to talk about next guy up, that defense is so well coached. And I think that's one of the things that's frustrating about our defense. Like, how many weeks do we talk about how bad our tackling is? You're not going to get that from a Mike Vrabel coach team.
It's way better than last year.
I think Vrabel could take our defensive roster, and they would be playing just light years different than they do under Spags and our defensive coaching staff. And that's no disrespect to them. You know, I think Vrabel is that much greater. And I think Spags' attention to some of the coaching details is kind of a weakness. Like, I haven't seen him be able to coach anybody to being able to tackle. Like,
Was
if he
that
gets,
was that Lamons that's 29? I think that's what they're
yeah,
saying.
I think so.
That seems right. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it's got to be Bush that's 26 because I saw him in there. Oh, yeah, there was a pass interference. Even Mahomes saw it. They relax on penalties against the Chargers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't want to say it's every team, but it certainly seems like it just doesn't seem like calls are consistent on both sides.
I thought he ripped him backwards, but maybe not. Freaking Collinsworth. He definitely got ripped backwards. You don't jerk backwards like that unless somebody pulls you. But whatever.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Crystal.
We're behind our
We're still about 40 minutes. At the end of the day, Crystal, you know, and I'm even skipping comments.
Don't do that.
There's so many. Well, it's a lot of like in chatting. But at the end of the day, with all of these things, you know, we still won. I would love to start seeing wins that are more than 3 points. You know, some of these heart healthy, you know, 20, 30 point wins, like, you know, we had against the Raiders last year. It would be nice to see those more regularly.
It would be, but everybody gives us their best shot. Yeah. They know they have to bring it. It'll make us better for the playoffs.
Again, for all the pundits who talk about how bad the Chiefs defense is, our first 8 games were against playoff teams or teams that just missed the playoffs. We didn't get the opportunity to play Zach Wilson, Taylor Heineke, Cooper Rush, you know what I'm
Baker
saying?
Mayfield.
Right. We didn't get that.
Davis Mills.
And for all the Raiders talk and how bad they are,
Derek Carr, though.
Derek Carr is still a damn good. No, I mean I actually believe when we play the Broncos, Russ will become Russ, and we'll have to figure out a way to win that. You know what I'm saying? It's what we're getting. You know what I'm saying? Because for a lot of these teams now, we are the Super Bowl. I'm like, oh, Chiefs are one of the best teams in the league. Let's knock them off. You know what I'm saying? Then we've got something to build on. Every single team, except for Vrabel, built their team to stop the Chiefs. Because everybody wants to be in the Super Bowl, and everybody assumes the Chiefs are going to be one of the last teams in. So everybody in the AFC built their team to stop the Chiefs. Except for Vrabel, who might be smarter than all of us. I'd like to see what he does in 2 years when King Henry's not running the ball.
Yeah, that'll definitely be interesting. I was gonna say there's a lot of New England, I think, in that team though. Like, yeah, Vrabel's approach I think is more universal, and that's in being the more physically dominating team. But yeah, every once in a while. But yeah, where was the comment at from Adam? I had a comment up there. Oh no, it was Holly's comment saying that she feels like the focus for Butker has been the long kicks field goals watching pregame training camp and all of that. So, yeah, and I just feel like that's kind of an emphasis with the coaching staff. Like they're practicing these different, practicing long field goals, practicing 3rd and 17s, not a lot of practicing 3rd and two runs. I don't think they practice runs basically at all when they should be. But yeah, I feel like they have their things that they find and that they want to emphasize, and that's what they practice. And some of this other stuff, is kind of a detriment. But yeah, Joe says, imagine Vrabel is Kansas City's defensive coordinator.
I had to put that up there because I brought this exact thing up with you guys. I don't know if it was it last week? Oh, Steve, you weren't there, were you?
Not last week. So
no, I remember bringing it up while you were.
So maybe last night?
It was either last night or 2 weeks ago. But I brought this exact thing up, and I think it'd be awesome. I'd love to see it.
I've slept since then, so don't ask me.
I'd like to see them impose their will.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much what they do. That's their building block, is to be the more physical team, like you were saying. And that's the biggest building block.
I think Vrabel would love to coach Nick Bolton. I mean, that's the kind of player that they have 11 guys on that defense. So
the Willie Gay streaming down the middle, which is what I've been asking for since we got him. Blitz that freaking guy. He runs like a 4-4.
Yeah.
Just send him. And what do you know?
Now, it's a lot more fun to play that defense at the end of October or November compared to January when it's like 10 degrees outside and you're getting thumped like that. So,
and Dana balled out this game. He was awesome. Was he playing just inside? Was he not playing defensive end at all?
Who, Dana?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't paying attention enough.
He was definitely inside a lot.
Check.
And that would apparently be his best position.
Mm.
So that was great to see. He before he got hurt, he was kicking butt too. I like to see that kind of growth.
Yeah.
Because he's kicked ass this year. It's about time that he got the pass rush involved, because he was good against the run. I think that's why they had him in there, is they trusted him. He wasn't going to completely screw up. And now he's thriving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're really starting to figure out the defensive line part of it. I think you can see a big difference. No offense to Brendan Daly, but I think you can see the big difference of going from Daly to Colin. I think it really shows up. So Adam says Tobe is not evolved with the game. The weird thing is, like, I don't think Tobe is dumb by any means. I think he's very strategic in some of the things that he does. Tobe was one of the guys who spearheaded the touchback being switched to the 25. I think he was very strategic in trying to get the NFL to adopt that rule. It's just the aggressiveness on kick returns is not working. It is stunting, our offense from the beginning. There's been too many times where we run it and whoever it is getting tackled at the 15 or 20 yard line, and there's a holding call that takes it back to the 5 or 10. Too many times like that. I hate the aggressiveness. You're not hitting enough to make it worth it to me.
The issue is Dave Toll has had the luxury, and we talk about generational talents all the time at quarterback. Dave Toll has had the luxury of having once in an era kick returners. Devin Hester, Tyreek.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, McCole is really, really good at kick and punt returns himself. But he's had those once in an era guys that just happens to be faster than everybody else or good at seeing how even when they're looking up for the ball can kind of glance down and see how it's playing out on the field and already have their moves plotted. And then they just go because with Tyreek and with Hester, there's no hesitation. They hit the hole and it seems like they automatically know where they're going. Yeah. And they're just going. And it doesn't work now when everybody runs the same speed on that team. They don't see it like that. And I'm with you. If it gets past, I mean, if they're kicking off or punting, it used to be a rule. Maybe I'm not remembering this right, but like most coaches back in the day, they stopped their punt returner on the 10. If it's over your head, let it go. Stand on the 10. And hey, go ahead and catch it at the 1. Let's see what you can do. Which is, like you said, hurting us because now instead of 25 yards for a field goal at least, it's 50 yards for a field goal at the bare minimum. And it's stunting our, like you said, we're killing our own momentum.
Yeah. Yeah, well, one, if you guys listen to New Heights, Travis had a big kind of soundbite about Tony on watching him on punt returns, right? And he kind of talked about the rest of the punt returners he's seen. So that kind of tells you, about Sky and McCole or whatever. He had this piece where he's talking about watching Tony take punt returns, and the other guys, they're like, they find the ball and then they're like sprinting to the spot where they think the ball's going to land and stuff. And he was talking about how Tony, when the ball would be kicked, he looked up and he just like casually walked to where the ball was going to be, was going to land, and he would go ahead and look to see where everybody was before he caught the ball. Like he was all calm and cool and, took his time. Whereas the other guys he's seen, they were frantic about it. There's a big difference between starting at the 25 and needing realistically, you need 35 yards for a field goal. If you take the touchback, you figure Butker, you feel pretty good about Butker kicking a 57-yard field goal, right? That's kicking from the other 40-yard line.
Depends on the conditions.
So you need 35 yards for that. That's not a huge deal. But if you're starting at your own 5 or 10 yard line, all of a sudden you need an extra 15, 20 yards, and all of a sudden 50 yards becomes a big deal. 55 yards becomes a big deal. So yeah, to me, it's just not worth it. But one of the things that you said, and one of the things that Adam brought up, and we can all debate this, but I'm 100% certain that in today's NFL, you cannot have a Devin Hester, you cannot have a Joshua Cribbs, you cannot have a Dante Hall, because after a few, once you show that you're a good returner, they will stop kicking to you, period. There's no chance to return it. Once they find out if you're a good returner or not, they simply won't kick to you anymore. So you don't get a Devin Hester. You don't get a Dante Hall. You don't get a Tyreek Hill. You put those guys out there and you do it knowing that you're influencing what the other team is going to do when they kick off, whether they're going to kick it off to you or not.
Unless your name's Cordero Patterson.
I just don't think they really respect him that much. Like he seems like an underrated kind of guy. But, like think back to like, and Devin Duvernay isn't really there, but he's definitely a kid that, you've seen enough now that, you probably don't want to kick to him. You might kick to him in a moment in the game where it doesn't really matter. But you know what I mean? Like Devin Hester and Dante Hall and Tyreek Hill, they had these, especially Devin Hester and Dante Hall, had these huge stretches where they just dominated the game. And it's not going to happen in the NFL today because if these guys return it, you're not going to get 2 or 3 games in a row where you're going to return it and they're still going to kick to you. It's just not going to be done.
Punters have gotten better too at pinning people, I think.
But probably a long time ago now, probably almost an hour ago, Crystal talked about how funny it is you don't see Andy get excited when he does the post-game report. Kind of the opposite of when you see the video of Andy in the locker room after the game. Crystal, I think there's a simple answer to that Andy doesn't like talking to reporters. So he gets a little stiff, a little dry. He just doesn't, he's a football coach. That's not where he finds any of his joy. But yeah. Bill says the pitch play is way overused. I did not like seeing that there at that point of the field. I was afraid it was going to get intercepted there.
The shuffle pass?
Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I hate those too. I cringe every time they do it.
Well, the problem
I
is,
want to see them pitch it back to a running back. Never just shuffle it right to the line.
it was a novel idea when they did it the first couple times, but now everybody's expecting it when you're down there.
Yeah.
I freak out every time though.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it as an option on the play. Sometimes they have, 3 or 4 options in there, and that's one of them. And if it's if it's a player who's wide open, fine. But I think as the go-to or the main option or whatever, and I think usually in that situation it's Travis, and I think probably Pat is trying to force it, to get Travis a quick, simple touchdown there in some of those situations. But yeah, I'm okay if it's one of 3 or 4 options on the play, as long as it's not the main one, and certainly not when they're doing it at the 40, 50 yard line, wherever that one was. But yeah. Man, we are way behind.
Yeah, let's get going, man.
So I'm not even sure what some of our comments here are referencing here.
You'll think about the enemy. LOL, that's what I call him.
The enemy. Are we talking about the enemy? I think so, because we have this comment here as well. Have you all noticed that Mahomes won't even talk to the enemy? He's mad because he wanted to be head coach somewhere. He's not good enough to be head coach. It's not the color of his skin. Yeah, we're definitely talking about the enemy here.
Okay. I have no idea on that.
Yeah, if they're not showing it on the sidelines, it's kind of hard to see. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what there would be to get mad at the enemy. I've said it before. There's guys out there who track who's calling the plays and play caller uniqueness. Travis all but said on his podcast that Andy's the one who's calling the plays. So you're going to have to give me evidence that's going to be requiring a camera on Andy and a camera on Eric at the exact same time with them mic'd up at the time that the play is being called in, at this point, for me to be convinced that it's Bieniemy. And that's whether the play calling is good or bad. Travis has said it on his podcast multiple times now. Guys who track play caller uniqueness have said it. It's Andy calling the plays. Andy has weeks where he's off.
I don't buy all that. I think that run play at 3rd and 1 was a Bieniemy call, because it's the one time that I have watched Patrick Mahomes games like you all have, and that's the first time I've ever seen him not audible.
Okay, you're talking about the play I was ranting about earlier,
From
where they had 4
something
defensive linemen condensed right there.
from something that he's audibled out of less. And he doesn't audible out of that. He sees it. Why didn't he audible?
Right. Yeah, that was
Prove
that,
a point,
that was
you think? And be
I
petty?
think so.
Hmm.
Because he's audibled out of everything else. Like Andy, the one thing, regardless of who's calling plays, the one thing that every quarterback that has played for Andy has said, Andy always gives them the ability to audible.
right.
Always. If they see something, audible out of it. And
And the enemy doesn't.
And Mahomes is lauded for his memory and his ability to see things and this, that, and the other. And the way that they were lined up, he does not audible out of that designed run. He just picked that time to have a brain fart. He just decided to stop what his natural instincts are. I told you, it's Petty Patrick season. I've been saying it.
Okay, so
I mean, there's nothing you can say about that play that's going to make sense to me all the way around. I can't see Pat being that petty to where he would shoot his own offense in the foot just to prove a point.
he knows he can put the team on his shoulders and win the game. So I won't put it past him, but I can't disagree with you either.
You're still going to get 3.
You're accusing him of the longest yarding this, and I think he's too competitive for that. But I did hear someone posit the theory that he was just flat out told, coming out of halftime, right? Because this was our first drive out of halftime, if I recall correctly. Like, it was emphasized, we're going to run the ball, and that can go to what you're saying, Gooch. But yeah, I don't know, because you're right, it didn't make sense. You could clearly, and I ranted about this before you jumped on, you could clearly see the 4 guys bunched up in the A and B gaps on this 3rd and 1, and it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense that there wasn't an audible. It didn't make sense all the way around. Like, and even if you want to say, Pat should have seen it, but who else should have seen it? Andy, Eric. And if they see Pat not killing the play and audibling to something else, isn't that your job then to say, what the hell is going on? And you call a timeout and you talk about what's going on here on this play, because you just saw the defense line up and condense 4 guys at the A and B gaps. It's clear this isn't the right play. It's, why are we sticking with it? And, if Pat's being petty, maybe he's being petty, but why isn't the coaching staff calling a timeout there when they can see, what's going on? I don't know. It was confusing to me. I don't know. Unless they were just that stubborn about they're going to run the ball, and they made it that clear they're running the ball on this drive. And was it Pacheco or was it, I think it was McKinnon, wasn't it? Was it McKinnon or Pacheco maybe they just made it clear, hey, we're expecting you to pick up this first down. I don't know.
Challenging the offensive line, maybe. That could be.
I don't know.
Well, it looks like Adam saw the Steelers run that pitch, the little shuffle pass to a blocking tight end. And he said it was hysterical. I missed it. I'm sorry I missed it.
Yeah.
Sounds like you like the little... Oh, she's talking about your kids.
Yeah, I think he finally went to sleep. He had one remaining. But, Gooch will probably be asleep here soon. He has an hour ahead of us, though, so it's approaching 4 a.m. there. Maui points out that Jody and Noah blocked for Travis on that screen pass touchdown. Crystal says there's quite a few penalties that I believe should have been called against the Chargers but weren't. But like I said, it always happens to Kansas City. And it's certainly seemed like at least multiple games that I can think of that the refs kind of did this where it seemed like they were trying to stunt our offensive output the first half, and then after halftime they called the game more fairly. Titans game, maybe a couple other games. It seems like the Bills game, it just seemed like there were games where it was totally one-sided against the Chiefs at the beginning and keeping it close at halftime, and then at halftime they started to call things more fairly. I don't know. I don't buy into all these betting conspiracy theories, but sometimes some of the stuff
got to
is
be something
looking kind of obvious. Oh man, I cannot catch up. I'm sorry, guys. We can't catch up.
I thought I was moving us. Adam doesn't like that play call either. It was a terrible call for sure. So they agree.
Yeah, we talked about that one. I think Crystal's talking about Cisco here. The NFL fined him, but I can't understand is why they did not call the penalty on the field that was so apparent with that, what the player did. Yeah, we talked about this.
The guy doesn't posture like that unless he's knocked out. You don't get knocked out from getting hit in the shoulder.
Yeah, and I didn't see that, but
how is it not more obvious to a referee that's walking Snead off this game?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, great. Here we go with the concussion protocols.
Yeah.
I'm glad he passed him right away and was able to come back in. But
I wasn't worried about Snead because he
got hit by a
he was walking perfectly fine. And two, like the look in his face, I'm not a doctor and I'm not saying
he was annoyed.
But yeah, to me it looked like Snead just had like a stinger on his neck or something. I think the ref just saw him like shaking his head, because I think he just something in his neck. But he didn't look like he had any kind of loss of balance or anything when he was walking off. Like he looked perfectly fine. But you're right, he looked annoyed. But yeah, we kind of talked about this play last night. And that was one of my biggest gripes. You cannot say it wasn't a fumble and also say it wasn't a personal foul. Like you can't have it both ways. It's either a fumble on that play and there's no penalty, or the fumble was legit, but it's wiped out by the fact there was a penalty. It can't be both. You can't say it's not a fumble and at the same time say it's not a penalty. Like, it's either a fumble and it's wiped out by the penalty, or it's not a fumble and there is no penalty. Did I say that right? It's almost 3 a.m., so I might have said that backwards.
I'm not sure.
They said it wasn't a fumble and it wasn't a penalty.
It
had to be a fumble if it wasn't a penalty. If it wasn't a fumble, then it was a penalty. Like, you can't say both. It is, what I said last night. And the NFL fining him is basically the NFL is as close to the NFL coming out and saying the referee was wrong. Right? This is I don't know what kind of families you guys grew up in, but this is mom or dad not saying they're sorry and going out and buying you a gift. This is what the NFL did. They won't criticize their referees. They won't say they made a mistake. They fine the guy because the referee made a mistake and they move on. And that's why. But yeah, it all goes back to player safety though. Like, Aaron said, and as Gooch said, and others have said, it's clear they really don't care about player safety when they let stuff like this go by.
All right. Did we talk about did we already go over this comment?
No, I don't know that we all have an answer for
towards the beginning
for this. Yeah. Joe says the notion that Herbert doesn't have weapons is absurd. The fact that they're hurt most of the years are irrelevant. Like, I'd kill for KC to have Allen, Williams, Eckler along with Kels. Yeah, I mean, and that's the big thing, right? We talked about that all off season. I know Gooch and I did. Having weapons like Allen and Williams that you can throw the ball up to. That was a huge advantage to Herbert, and especially when teams drop 7 or 8 into coverage.
Have a good one, Adam. Thanks for
you can throw a ball
by.
That's a jump ball, and that makes life way easier for Herbert. So when Williams and Allen are out, it's forcing Herbert to become a better quarterback because, he's got that advantage from them where he can just throw it up. Joe Burrow has the same thing in Cincinnati with Chase and Higgins and those guys. He can just throw it up and they'll go up. They got the vertical to come down with it. The Chiefs hadn't had that game. And I said all offseason, we have to get the receivers and we have to add that to our game. You have to add that dimension to it. We kind of have that dimension now. So. I don't know if that's the fun of it, Holly. I don't really I don't like not being relaxed. I like blowouts. As long as we're on the good side of those blowouts. I like total domination. I like all 3 phases of the team dominating another team and the game not being in doubt. But that's me. What about you, Aaron? What about you, Gooch?
That was pretty much the Jaguars game. It was closer at times, but I was never worried. I thought we were going to win the whole time. So I was fairly relaxed for that one.
Joe brings up a good point here. So what bothers me so much about the Chargers and by extension the non-Chiefs NFL fan base, there's this absurd notion that somehow when the Chiefs win, it somehow isn't legit. I think that's just wishful thinking on fans. They just hate the Chiefs. They hate how successful the Chiefs are. They hate watching Mahomes come back.
Lately.
It's like people have passed on their exhaustion from the Patriots dynasty onto the Chiefs. which sucks because we're only 4 or 5 years into this thing. We only have the one ring, so why are you keep your Patriots fatigue onto the Patriots. Hey, we're still 45 minutes out here.
Quit your rants, man.
Holly says it's no accident the Chiefs have won the AFC West 7 years in a row. Yes, jumping the gun, but think it's realistic. Yeah, they do a lot of things right, and having Mahomes helps, but they do a lot of things right. I still think there's areas for all the coaches to grow, but that's trying to be realistic as well. Gooch, Joe says he entirely agrees. You're not wrong. And yet somehow tomorrow you'll hear about 1,000,001 hot takes that somehow the Chiefs barely got out of LA and were gifted a win.
Sounds about right.
Okay, now I see Adam's comment about the frustrating game. Was this really the most frustrating game, though? I feel like the Colts game was the most frustrating game because that seemed like a game that we should have just dominated.
This is more on the mind since it just happened. That's the most frustrating loss by far. Yeah. This might be the most frustrating win. Might be. And yeah, it's the freshest.
I think the Titans win was the most frustrating win because outside of Derrick Henry, there was no offense.
There shouldn't have been.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. Like, it should have been so easy to stop them on offense. To me, that's why that's a way more frustrating win. Like, you're coming into this game and the Chargers play you hard every single time you play them. Allen and Williams are back for this game, even though Williams went out again. Derwin James is healthy. They have all these pieces. You expect this to be kind of like this kind of game. What got frustrating was the refs at the beginning.
And then giving them 3rd and 1s constantly.
Yeah. Like, we had
driving me nuts.
2 of our first few drives were ended on plays where DPI should have been called. The Chiefs didn't convert or get the touchdown points because of it. So, yeah, we got 3 points instead of 7 on those. So add on another 8 in this game, So I think that's part of what was frustrating about it. But I still think the Titans game was more frustrating because you look at that offense and it shouldn't have been that hard for us to stop them.
Keenan Allen should not have been catching anything, though. Did you notice the one time McDuffie covered him? They didn't even throw his way.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
The only time that I know of. Yeah. And then Sky Moore being back there to catch a punt. When we figured out finally that he shouldn't be, and then Tony gets hurt, well, let's throw him back in there. McColl's not around.
Yeah.
Can't lean on him.
Well, I tweeted out.
People being out as well is frustrating. Juju and him.
Yeah. I tweeted out something about Tobe wants me to hate him, and 2, he doesn't care about the heart health of hundreds of thousands of fans.
And I said probably millions.
Put more out there. Yeah. Oh.
Bastard.
Okay, we have a lot of
Tobe's just a bastard. I can't believe we still have 8 of you watching. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
I'm ready to fall asleep now, though.
Really trying to get within 20 minutes of comments here, but
I want to get all the way, man.
You guys are
It's getting late.
killing it. Here's one talking about I don't know if I can scroll there.
Yeah,
Can't
Adam.
scroll right.
I saw this comment that he sent me a text, and I was like, okay, check my text, and then I remembered.
Yeah, Joe says there are players that Vrabel could absolutely turn into monsters. Bolton, Karloftis, Gay, Jones. Not that Jones isn't already a monster. Dana. Yeah, I mean, I would put Bolton in there already too. Right?
Defensive player of the year for Jones.
Nick Bolton is Vrabel's kind of guy. You know,
I think Willie Gay could be.
Like
Willie Gay is fast, big, sumbitch. I wouldn't want to get hit by him.
Right. Adam was saying, I don't know who he is, but Karloftis maybe benefited, or maybe Dana benefited from Jones getting double teamed.
Yeah, it's got to be. Which he should. You got to win those one-on-ones.
Yeah, Holly says her opinion is that Tobe is very focused on mechanics and the operational execution of special teams and might not have the overall high-level overview of the game. And to be fair, is what I think Gooch said earlier, you know, at some point it's got to be on the players, right? Like, you as a player have to take it upon yourself to practice some of these things, right? Like, you can't be Allen Iverson out there, but, you know, complaining about practice, but you need to practice. So,
Gooch.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Then I scrolled past it.
Me too.
Adam was talking about return game almost doesn't exist anymore. The first punt return for a touchdown this season happened today. Is what Adam was
So
saying.
I think he's agreeing with you.
And if that was the Jones return that they're against the Jets, where there could have been a soft block in the back penalty thrown there, it's kind of one of those.
I definitely called that. I was like, oh shit, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, I saw that. It was like, it wasn't needed. Like, it added nothing.
Not whatsoever.
Yeah, they didn't throw the flag, but
he was past them.
Yeah, it just didn't make
sense.
sense.
Luckily, they didn't. Well, it's New England, so
they're
not gonna throw the flag.
It was kind of like the Nick Bolton, you know, late hit thing. It was like, it totally wasn't needed. You know, your chances are you're getting that flag, and he got the flag.
He could have tried to get that first down, though. I really don't think he shoved him. Seemed to me like he held up and just basically was making sure he was going out of bounds.
No, he shoved him, and then he pulled his hands away. Like, he shoved him, and then he pulls his hands. Like,
he was quick about it then.
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
He was. But yeah. No, because I was streaming the game for Gooch, I was watching on my TV, and then I would look over, because it was about a play or two behind. I'd look over to my laptop, what I was streaming from, and I made a good point to watch that one. So, and then they showed the replay in slow-mo on it. But yeah, you can see both hands pushing him, and then he just pulls back almost instantaneously, pushing back, you know, just.
He doesn't typically do that.
If you're afraid, if you're afraid he's going to move forward, just stand there, you know, don't give him an option if he wants to, you know, because at that point you're fair game. If you want to run forward, you know, that's where, hey, this is a good opportunity to punch the ball or take the kind of shot at Herbert that you normally can't get away with. But if he's running sideways, and a lot of times though, if you try that, because Mahomes tried that a couple times, the refs aren't going to let you have it. It's like you started to run sideways, you gave yourself up. So
I thought Jones was going to get a penalty when he almost did like a soccer tackle on Jones. Herbert did when he slid. I was like, oh great, he couldn't help but trip over him.
Yeah, well, and I was worried that Travis was going to draw a flag. Was it the last touchdown? He started his celebration about 4 yards from the end zone, and can't do that.
It wasn't directed at anybody. It was a tribute to primetime.
Yeah, but I mean, still, don't
And
celebrate.
Madden does it. You can do it in Madden. All right, what's next?
Just please don't start your celebration until you're in the end zone, so that if they do throw a flag, it's on the PAT or the kickoff and doesn't completely negate your touchdown. Is all I'm saying. Just don't risk it, especially with refs calling the games that they've been calling.
No taking your helmet off either,
unless you're Tom Brady.
Well, of course.
Joe says at this point,
away with elbowing and tripping people, and kicking people. So,
Joe says at this point, I'd almost rather see them fake the pitch near the goal line. Defenses are biting on it hard, and a good running back could walk into the end zone from the flat.
I love that, Joe.
Yeah, I think they really need to self-scout and understand their tendencies. We all see it, right? There's a lot of these third down plays where we know what's coming, and you just start to dread it. Like,
I don't quit doing the jet sweeps and little touch passes right by the goal line.
I mean, they're
trying to get people to quit thinking about it.
They do the fake handoffs and then they hand it off to Burton. That play's coming. It's like when you see Blake, when he was healthy, when you'd see Blake Bell, come into motion, and it's like, it's going to be him sneaking the ball. And that if you know it, that the defense knows it, because those guys have guys who get paid to watch these games. And anyway.
And they do have brains.
Yeah, Holly, they definitely have that connection.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's awesome to watch, especially in the red zone.
I said at the beginning, right? They might be the GOAT combo, and Gooch would chime in and disagree and say it was Montana or Young and Rice,
but he's a tight end. So they're the GOAT duo for quarterback tight end. And Kelsey's the GOAT for having so many 1,000-yard receiving years in a row, seasons.
Yeah. I think Adam was talking about the play that we were all arguing or discussing why Mahomes didn't audible from. I mean, I think that could be a legit point. Maybe they thought with those 4 defensive linemen condensed in there that Pacheco, whether it was Pacheco, I think it was McKinnon, but they both have the burst, right, to hit the outside and get the corner. And we saw Pacheco a few times in this game run to hit the outside corner.
I saw one where he didn't, and I was upset that he went between 2 of our guys that were blocking people instead of cutting inside or going outside. I was like, where was your vision on that one, buddy? It was no gain.
So I don't know, if that's kind of what Adam's hitting at, maybe that was the point. Maybe that, and I'd have to go back and watch it. Maybe they did bounce it outside, but maybe that was the point, was to counter off of that, let them crash inside and then hit the outside on that. I don't know. all I remember is seeing the defensive line there, and I was like, oh, we better not run this.
I also think he's talking that we were running the ball really well, so that's why we were risking going for that. And
Now
I said bye to my brother.
Adam brings up the Rams, though. Man, if this doesn't seem like the typical Chiefs fans start thinking, yeah, we should win by 30 points, kind of like the Colts game, kind of like the
They're
Jags
missing
game.
Cooper Cup.
On paper, this looks like a game we should win by 30 points. But how often do the games play out the way anywhere close to the way they look on paper? You know
Tennessee
what I mean?
sure didn't.
Like, this seems like the type of game where we should score, win big. That's going to end up being way closer and really frustrating. I hope I'm wrong.
Oh, I do too.
I really hope I'm wrong. I get a bad feeling about some of these games when it seems like we should be winning big, because we rarely do.
Right.
I wish John
We
Gruden
always
was
get
still an NFL head
everybody's
coach.
we always get everybody's best shot. And I think Mahomes would like to rub it in just because they beat us in that big high-scoring game,
Yeah.
which I still think he should have hit Kelsey underneath and worried about the end zone later. And Peters picked him off. That bastard.
Now, I'll say this, Holly, and I know Gooch talked about the Cowboys and Vikings game. I don't think Aaron and I really talked about this game. I was surprised it was this big of a blowout, but I wasn't fully surprised. I kind of thought that what happened in this game would be, would kind of a little bit be like what happened against the Packers. Like, that game surprised me more. Cowboys and Packers surprised me more than Cowboys and Vikings. Like, I think I said last night, I didn't really buy into the Vikings because I don't really buy into Kirk Cousins. I think Parsons can single-handedly wreck a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of offenses and what they're doing. I didn't watch the Cowboys and Packers game, but my understanding was they didn't really use Parsons to pass rush a whole lot.
They were like bypassing. It seemed like Green Bay was using everything around him so he wasn't in the play.
Was that kind of like the way that we manipulated Nick Bosa in the 49ers game?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't trust Kirk Cousins, and, looking at the Cowboys pass rush, I just wasn't completely surprised defensively. The Cowboys offense, it's all, to me, it's always a toss up. Like, they did a great job actually running Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard was a guy I had on my fantasy team last year and got screwed most of the time because they insisted on giving it to Zeke. Zeke is an overpaid copy of CEH, in my opinion. So, like, I hated it last season. I love that they're giving Tony Pollard the ball. They should. It's kind of like David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert in Chicago. I'd love to have Herbert on my team. I think I had him on my team for a week or two, but it became clear that Chicago doesn't care that he's the more dynamic running back, and they keep giving the ball to David Montgomery. So, I think that the fact that they're using Pollard probably means better things for the Cowboys offense. But, Dak wasn't really a receiver or a quarterback that I trusted. And McCarthy, or whoever they're saying is calling plays, isn't someone that I trusted. But if they're going to hand the ball off to Tony Pollard, like I saw him hand the ball off in this game, then that offense can be a lot scarier, I think. But I didn't really buy the Vikings. Um,
They just beat Buffalo.
yeah,
So you like to talk about Cousins' inconsistency. So that's basically the calling card right there.
I don't trust him. Like, I don't think you can trust him.
Jefferson had 33 yards today. 3 catches, 33 yards. And he's possibly the best receiver in the league. So Cousins isn't doing something right today. And or Dallas is doing something very right and just dominating with their defense.
That might be. I don't normally watch other games, the all 22, but at the very least, you can watch the condensed in like 40 minutes. That might be one I have to go back and watch because, I just caught the clips
I wouldn't
from
mind that.
NFL Red Zone. So, but it'd be interesting to see what they did if they just put Diggs on them the whole game. That's what I would do. But I don't know if that's what they did or not.
Diggs likes to gamble, though. And he'll try to go for the ball rather than actually try to make the tackle.
Yeah, but I mean, if your pass rush is getting home quick enough, it negates Diggs's weakness. I think he's actually gotten better at it this season. He's not
picking off.
Not as feasted. He's not as feast or famine. So, Joe, it's not you. It's not you at all. But yeah, we or I get talking, and we all stop to give our optimistic takes and pessimistic takes and realistic takes, and that took a little time. So Holly agrees with me. Holly says the Colts game was the most frustrating. I delayed getting to my niece's wedding, waiting for the outcome. We were ahead until the last few seconds. You know what the problem was is Danny Showers was not taking showers during that game. So Dan, shame on you.
He won it for us today with 5 showers, though. That's
right.
Just need to know how he actually counts these showers.
What is it? 4 or 5 seems to be the lucky number, right? Was it? What did he say? Super Bowl 54?
4.
4. So at least 4 showers. Chiefs are undefeated when Dan has had at least 4 showers during a game. Danny Showers. Holly says she doesn't understand why some bad teams are the Chiefs' kryptonite. Yeah, I just think it's part of it goes to a coaching mentality.
Was it Dan Talks Football?
Yeah.
It's Danny Showers.
Danny Showers. Yep.
Everybody plays us close. I don't know if we're playing down to everybody else's level or what. But yeah, it is frustrating.
I'm with you, Holly. Right? We talked. The Bills was one of the games that Butker wasn't back for, right? I think so. When Butker was out, and I went on my PAT rant, but I'll say this: when the games that Butker was out, I think it was much more stressful because like that game, it didn't feel winnable. There's a difference at the end of the game when you need a field goal to tie or to win the game, knowing that the Chiefs offense only has to get to the opponent's other, 40, 42 yard line, and you're probably getting that field goal is a totally different feeling than when Butker was out. And nothing against Matthew Wright or Matt Amendola. It's just a totally different feeling of knowing, okay, once we get to the 40, we're probably good here, compared to we got to score a touchdown on this drive because we can't trust the guy kicking. It's a totally different feeling. And Pat had that interception there, and I don't know if it was McCole or Juju or whoever, whatever the miscommunication there, but I think there was some pressing because of that mindset. The mindset was, we got to get to touchdown here, and so, well, I think at that point we were down by 4, so we had to get to. I don't know. I could be misremembering that one, but
no, not at all. You're right.
But yeah,
down by 4, needed it. Look for Travis in the red zone. Hello. We win.
Joe says, would 100% not want to take a hit from Willie Gay or Nick Bolton. Either one of those.
Well,
guys.
yeah. If Nick gets hands on you, you're going down.
Oh, man. I think Nick really got frustrated in this game, and I don't know. I've
never seen him act out like that.
But
he's usually very composed and mature.
That
seems like
face mask. That face mask
weird. It's like his forearm got stuck in the face mask.
It was intentional though. Like,
and then he grabbed.
That was a lot of anger. That was a lot of anger on that play. And I guess at some point you're just like, I'm getting the flag anyway, so let's just make it worth it. I don't know. But at least he didn't throw a remote and break his TV like McCole Hardman did. So
I would have picked that up.
Holly says Brady Gronk, is that the competition? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
It is. I think
Gooch would say is, yeah, but they've tied or passed Brady and Gronk, haven't they?
He passed 100-yard games.
No, I think tonight.
Not touchdowns.
The connection.
Yet.
Are you sure? I thought they were saying something about the connection.
Not.
I don't know. I
know for 100-yard games he's got it. He passed Gronk on that for sure. I don't know about touchdowns, but he might pass the touchdowns that Gronk got. What was it, 18? I want to say. We're in week 11.
Yeah,
and he's already got 11. So he's got a touchdown a game.
I don't even know
That's
if I
kind of crazy. One game he got 4, and today he got 3, and I had a feeling he was going to get 3. I don't know why. I have him in one league, and the guy I'm playing had him. But I already beat him. I still have DeAndre Hopkins, too. And I may be able to beat Cole still. I need about 30.5 points out of Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, I, for one, and the 72 Dolphins will be rooting for you to lose.
I thought we were brothers, man.
Hey, man, we're fantasy football.
I would, too. I'd be rooting against me, too.
Listen,
quite honestly.
I'm still pissed off that you drafted Travis.
I drafted a hell of a team, man. Evidently. For this year. I did horrible last year. I've never done so bad.
Joe brings up a good point here. Rams might be missing Stafford. Or what? Joe, he might be I think there's a comment about a possible another concussion.
You're kidding.
Right.
How many has he had? It's been a ton.
Yeah, I don't know. But if he was healthy, he would magically become healthy for that game. So,
right.
Just like Jamar Chase will probably and most likely be healthy for the Chiefs game, even though the early estimates had him out for the Chiefs game. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Stafford is questionable with potential second concussion in a couple of weeks. Yep, definitely hate to see that.
I like that guy.
Once Whitworth was a Whitworth, right? Retired, that offensive line, it just hasn't been the same. Yeah, Joe's with me on Cousins. Apparently, not surprised by Vikes blowout because I mean Cousins. They have some great quarterbacks, but Cousins is mid at best. I mean, he has his moments. They're just when he's not great under pressure, and that's a lot of quarterbacks. To be fair, you know. So, but
Nobody wants to get hit.
There's a few qualities that separate the elite quarterbacks from the rest of the guys. Like in most ways, a lot of quarterbacks are basic, there's not much separation between them. Some guys have stronger arms, some guys are more mobile, some guys have quicker releases. There's little things here and there. But to me, that's one of the biggest things. And it's something you just see. And if you see Mahomes enough, you start to see the differences in some of these other quarterbacks that they just don't have it, right? And other people, will say there are quarterbacks who won't lose you games and there are quarterbacks who will win you games. We've seen the Mahomes as a quarterback who will win you games. We've seen some of these other quarterbacks that'll win you games. Cousins, Garoppolo, those kind of guys, Tannehill, they're not it to me. I think that's the big difference.
I think Tannehill was like a couple years ago, and maybe a year or two before that, but he's not anymore, at least. And then Mahomes is not that fast, but he is elusive. And he was not showing it as much in the first half.
Man, someone had a great phrase to explain. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Rich Eisen or someone to talk about Mahomes. Like, he's not fast, but when he runs, he's just a little bit faster than everybody on defense. I forget what the quote was, but it's like, yeah, he's not fast. He's just fast enough. But yeah, Joe says, I'm half mad that the Cowboys finally figured out Pollard was good. I was hoping we could find a way to snag him for cheap.
He got me 30-something points today.
Yeah, I don't know if they can bring him back. They're paying Zeke like how much?
Oh man, I have no idea. I know it was a lot.
I mean,
35.9, but while he was hurt, I definitely had Pollard starting, and he was getting at least 20 points a game.
Which makes sense. I had him last year. I liked Pollard. The problem was they didn't see it. I don't want to talk like I can see it, but like I said, it's the same thing in Chicago. There's other places, it's just these kids are good. They're just not getting the opportunities, which I guess is the good thing in Kansas City is we're finally seeing Pacheco, get those opportunities when it's clear that CEH wasn't the guy. That was kind of the thing in Dallas, but this is an interesting situation. I don't know that they can afford to bring him back and pay that much money to two running backs, but you rarely see running backs get huge contracts. So I'm really interested to see what kind of contract Pollard can actually command. He's not that old, right? He's only like 25, 26.
But what do you think he could do on another team?
Yeah, he should be fresh enough.
They've got a pretty good offensive line. How many teams could he keep this going? He's a hell of a receiver, too, which is mostly what he did today. That's how he got his touchdowns. He caught like 6 balls for over 100 yards.
I don't think it's the offensive line.
And 2 touchdowns, I want to say. Let me see.
Let me see if I can find this. But he has burst. He's got that explosiveness. You just don't see.
He had 80 yards rushing too.
Okay, let's see here.
6 catches, 109 yards, 15 attempts for 80 yards, 40-yard touchdown reception. I think it was 68. The other one was like 30.
Okay, so the Cowboys' run blocking grade is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh worst in the NFL. Their run blocking
Really?
grade coming into this game was around 57. For context, the Chiefs are like 75.
Wait, what are you saying?
Their run blocking grade. This is
It's in the 50s?
Their PFF run blocking grade was like it's about a 57.
Wow.
Their yeah. So, for example, same offensive line, right? Ezekiel Elliott's yards over expected per attempt is under 0. So he's getting a little bit less than what the blocking suggests he should get, while Tony Pollard has been averaging 2 yards over expected per attempt behind the same offensive line.
Huh.
It's a huge disparity between the two of them.
That's what they tried to spend all their money on, was offensive line.
Well, they've had a lot of injuries
So it
too, though.
sounds like they need Pollard.
Yeah,
He's got some negotiating to do.
Well, it'll be interesting. I don't know. I think Melvin Ingram got like 7 or 8 million a year to come back to the Broncos, was it?
Well, he should get at least that.
So maybe Pollard can get that.
If he's willing to take a team-friendly deal, is what that sounds like.
Team-friendly, yeah, I don't know. That might just be like 3 years or something, where they can easily cut him after 3 years. I think that would be the concern more than anything, is the amount of years. But I mean, if there's anything in Pollard's favor, he hasn't had that wear, so that might help him a lot. But yeah, I've heard some people out there talk about the possibility that Beach goes after him.
Man, we've been on for over 3 hours.
Yeah. Everybody's still here, though, except for Gooch and Danny Showers and Adam.
And my brother.
Holly says, the Lions beat the Giants. Do the Bills need to be worried about the Lions? It's an interesting question. It seems so hard to think that they do, though, right? Man. Yeah, I don't know.
They lost Hawkinson, and now they just hand the ball to Jamal Williams, which I had on my bench today. Not very proud of that.
When does Jameis Williams actually join this team? That's kind of scary to think about. Yeah, I think they play physical, Dan Campbell. But, again, look at the quarterback. And I understand that the Rams went to a Super Bowl with Goff, but
he's kind of like Cousins, though. He's on or he's off.
So, yeah, I don't know. This will be an interesting one. I think it really helps the Bills that they get to stay in Detroit and play in the same stadium 2 weeks in a row, even though it's on short rest. But
Detroit does.
The Bills.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Detroit was actually at the Giants, right? Yeah, but since the Bills played the Browns in Detroit Stadium today, they're just staying. I think I heard that they even chose to play today in the away team sideline or whatever, so it would be just the same as when they play Thursday.
Huh.
Holly,
don't have to move their stuff.
Holly, I honestly don't know. I don't know. The NFL schedule, the way it's played out has been so screwy week to week. It's really hard to get a beat on some of these teams. I think Detroit has what, a 3-game winning streak. It's hard to pick against the Bills,
In that defense.
but this could certainly be a trap game.
I don't see them scoring 30 points on the Bills. But yeah, you never know.
Yeah. And I mean, as you
Been a
talked
weird
about,
few seasons.
yeah, like you talked about with the Chiefs having the target, on them. The Lions are like what, 3-7, 4-7, or whatever now. And
I'm a little curious now.
You're playing the Bills, and if they want to get chippy, they can get chippy with the Bills. So
They are 4-6.
well, Holly, we don't know for sure that it needs to be at least 4, but we do know if there's at least 4, the Chiefs come back and win. So
Vikings are 8-2. And I thought Philadelphia was actually going to lose to Indy today. They came back at the last minute, too. And I was like, well, if they score here, they probably win. And then they scored there and won by 1. I was going to feel so much better about losing to Indy if Philadelphia did. And then, yeah. Damn it, Jason Kelsey.
yeah.
We have to give him crap.
Bill, I was wondering if I was right about that one or not. Like it seemed like I wasn't right, but I wasn't 100% sure on that one. So I'm probably thinking of the Colts game where I didn't have confidence because we didn't have Butker. I'm sure that's probably the game I was thinking then. But yeah.
I gotta let Sasha out real quick.
Okay. And that seems to be some kind of spam there. I don't know. Maybe you caught it, Holly. We're only about 10 minutes behind now. Holly says Titan fans seem so fickle. Before the season, they hated Tannehill, but now Titan's doing well. I don't know why they would hate Tannehill. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I just, at the end of the day, I don't fully trust him, but that team has gotten number 1 seeds and they've gotten number 2 seeds and constantly winning. So, of course, Derrick Henry really helps out in that department. But, yeah. Thanks, Bill. I think we already got that one once. Joe says Pollard is what I hoped CEH would be. I honestly hated the pick at the time. Like, I hated just taking a running back at that spot in general. But definitely not the running back I wanted. The running back I wanted that year, it was Travis Etienne, but he stayed in school. So he wasn't even eligible for us to draft. But that's who I wanted. I like faster running backs, and CEH is kind of proving the reason why. But the reality is that CEH really became, to me, CEH really became obsolete in this offense last year when teams really started dropping 7 or 8 into coverage and playing all the 2 high shells, pre-snap 2 high shell looks. He just doesn't have the burst to make defenses have to respect the run and to get explosive plays when teams started to take those away. But anyway. Holly says, thoughts on the exterior O-line during this game, Orlando Brown and Wiley, and why have we held on to Niang for a couple of years when he hasn't been able to play? Well, the answer to the Niang thing is because we have him under contract and he's cheap and he still has a high ceiling. And I'm sure they have a lot of faith in their medical staff and training staff, which they should. If Niang can get healthy and stay healthy, he has quite a bit of upside. I think that's between that and the contract, why get rid of him? You have him cheap. He's got high upside. The thing is you're only dressing 45 guys each week anyway. So you have 8 guys on your 53 man that you're not having active, So if he's healthy, is he better than number 52 or number 53? Probably. It's not like the roster depth is so great that anyone at the end of the roster is pushing him, off of it, especially when he's a cheap contract and his ceiling is as high as it is. Now, I don't have a lot of faith that he's going to stay healthy, but at this point, it's still an easy gamble for them because he's cheap. So, and under contract for what? Another 2 years? So I think that's the big reason. I'd have to go back and watch this game a lot more to answer that, but I certainly didn't see Brown and Wiley looking beat like they have in other games. But, we also did a great job running the ball with Pacheco. So I think that helped take some of that pressure off to where they couldn't just say, oh, yeah, passing situation, and just tee off. But anyway, Joe says that he thinks think we keep Wiley because he's a really good backup, but shouldn't be starting. Niang isn't the answer either, but he's the greener grass. OBJ has played himself out of top 5 money. I don't think OBJ ever played himself into top 5 money, which was my argument to Aaron and Gooch before this season. But Wiley's a good backup. He's a dependable backup. Very solid player. I don't know if we'll be able to afford him next year. I guess that'll depend on, how much another team wants to pay for Wiley. If there's a team out there who has a really bad offensive line, maybe they pay Wiley starter money. He's shown to be an adequate starter, but I already answered the Niang part of that, but we'll see. I don't think he can be healthy, but if he can, he certainly has a high floor high ceiling. But do you have anything you want to add to that, Aaron? Even though you didn't hear what I said. Okay, so Lions are 4-6 now.
I thought I said that. Yeah, Minnesota's leading that division by a long shot.
I'm so confused right now. Aaron, do you know this person and what is going on?
Fox picks
some of the stuff in here, I thought it was spam, but I'm not so sure. So if you're not spam, I apologize. So where did Aaron go?
No
I guess he's
idea.
looking for something that I told him to do.
Are you my wife?
That's what I was. Yeah.
I had to give Sasha her meds and get her outside. She's not healing like she used to. She's still in pain. It's not fun to watch. She's 14, so nothing's super fast.
Yeah. Yeah, my father-in-law just had to put his dog down a couple days ago.
My best friend at work, Sarah, she just had to put hers down last Sunday, and then a friend that I worked with dogs with, she just had to put hers down early, and then Liz just found out her my old nurse practitioner that she works with, she just had to put basically a puppy down. Just turned a year old. His body just started. I don't know.
Yeah. So Holly asked, "Do you think CEH's time is done with the Chiefs?" To be honest, I love Clyde. Talk some sense into me.
He's a good, happy kid, but he's just not explosive enough. He doesn't. I don't know. I like him as a person. I don't like him so much as a running back, much less our starting running back. I'm hoping he'll be a good cheap backup next year. And then after that, no.
That's kind of how I see it. I don't know. I think there's two possibilities. He's back next year is kind of a cheaper backup. Well, cheaper for someone who is drafted at the end of the first round. Otherwise, I think he's. I think he's a trade enhancer. He's not going to get you a lot in a trade, but I think he's someone you add to a trade to help bump up the value of what you're offering, so you don't have to give up some other picks that you don't want to give up. But I think, especially when you look at CEH compared to Pacheco, and I'm not even talking about first round versus seventh round here. I'm talking when you see how much Pacheco has grown and improved from game 1 to what was this, game 11, game 10, I think. When you see how much he's grown in that time, right, and compare Clyde being, this is what, year 3, and I understand there's been a lot of injuries, right, but even mentally, like the growth isn't there, and so I think it shows and it's hard for me to say this because I do believe everybody can grow and I believe everybody can get better, and even, you can even do it farther down the road.
You think he's hit his full potential?
I wouldn't say that, but I do think you have to question why we haven't seen him get a lot better at pass blocking, for instance. Like, if he was good at pass blocking, he would have been in on third downs, like it would have been easier for him to keep a job.
He's a little guy.
Well, then we shouldn't have drafted him. He's little and he's slow. So why did we draft him? And why did Andy think that he's better than Bryan Westbrook? They saw something they liked in him. And, I already spoke about thinking that that the way teams changed, how they played us last year and taking away explosive plays, how it kind of really made Clyde obsolete in this offense, and I'll stick by that. But he's shown he can get 4.5 yards. He's solid. He's solid at taking what the run blocking gives him. So there's some value there. Yeah. So I'm not sure what was going on in the comments, Holly. As long as it's not spam, I don't really care. I think we're pro promotion. I don't know what this is though. So
there was definitely some
spam
stuff going on.
But yeah, Joe says Clyde's 100% done. So he's always had injury issues, and as unfortunate as it is, he's definitely out in part because of that. Also can't seem to get past first contact, no burst. Pacheco is better. Yeah, and this is what? This is the second or third ankle sprain he's had. I don't know if it's the same ankle or not, but right, he's had ankle sprains before, if I'm not mistaken. That's been one of the main injuries he's had.
Yes.
So
I think he had a hamstring at one point, but it seems like it's typically been his ankles.
I think we already got that. Am I going backwards? All right, so let's see. Yeah, I think I ended up going backwards here in the chat. Sorry about that, guys. All right, Joe said, honestly, I don't think the starting tackles for this team are on the team yet. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel, especially if we're talking about next year, I don't feel that way at all. That we have our starting tackles, the ones I'm comfortable with. So, the ones that if we want to build this offensive line moving forward, and the plan is to have Creed and Trey and our offensive tackles to all develop together and stay together 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I don't think we have those tackles on this team. So I would agree with that. What do you think, Aaron?
Definitely not. We definitely don't have them. We got to look in the draft and maybe think about trading. If not, trying to get him to move to right tackle. We know he was great over there when he did it in Baltimore, but it's a different. We're a passing team. He was on a running team, so I don't know. I don't know if that's even worth it to try and talk him into.
Yeah.
What kind of contract he would have to get in order to move over there?
I mean, I said it before. I think that you franchise tag him, let him talk to all. Yeah, I think you franchise. It's not that much. It's less than what they would have paid him on a per yearly basis had he accepted the contract. So I think you franchise tag him.
Do the old franchise and trade.
Yeah, I mean, I think you franchise tag him and you let him talk to 31 other teams. There are some people out there, I think Gooch is one of them. Danny Showers is another one who thinks there's a team out there that will pay him to be the left tackle. And I think if he can find that, all the power to him. That's kind of my thought. If you find someone out there who says, "Yeah, we believe in you. We think you can be the left tackle of our team." Great. You guys work out a parameter for a contract, and then you can work out a parameter with Veach to trade for him. I don't care. Even if we don't get a whole lot for him, we got two years of use out of him. We still got the trade back or the pick back that we used for, was it Nick Bolton? So I'm fine with that. I would much rather do that than pay him what he wanted or just let him walk. So, I think that's the play. You franchise tag him, let him talk to other 31 teams. He can see if there's interest from anyone as a left tackle and then see what they're willing to pay him. And then either one of two things is going to happen. If the first one happens, I'll be so surprised. But one, a team likes him as a left tackle and is willing to pay him basically what he wants. Or two, he's going to find out that every other team views him the same way the Ravens did, and that's as a right tackle, and he's not worth all that money. And then, it becomes an issue of, do you swallow your pride and you move to right tackle, stay with the Chiefs, or do you move on? That's why I say franchise tag him, because it's not like you can't rescind the tag, but you give him a chance to talk to other 31 teams, and he can find out how they value him, and it helps you as the GM too. So
I don't mind it.
That's kind of my rationale for it. But yeah.
He was trying to figure out how to get down to me, so I decided to mess with him and then grab him. All right. The Miracle Box.
All right. So Joe says, okay, here's a question. It's highly likely we're drafting in the high 20s to 32nd. You have definite deficiencies at defensive end and left/right tackle. You can only draft one. Which one? So there's got to be more to this, right? One of those positions. Well, here's my answer. You can agree or disagree, Aaron. But one, I think it's 32, Joe. I think the Chiefs trade up though, and I think it depends on who's there in the area that they can trade up to. Maybe this is the trade that you can include CEH on, instead of having to give up as many picks as you normally would. But I think they trade pick 32 to move up. And I think it just depends on who's there at the spot they can move up to. Who's on their board. I guess the more complex answer is it's going to be, they're going to have their little groupings of players, and it's going to depend on which positions off the board and how close the guy in this group at this position is compared to the guy in this other position in that same grouping there, as to which they take, I think. But my guess is if they like the left tackles there, it's probably going to be a left tackle. They seem to be utterly satisfied with defensive end way more than I am.
I agree.
I don't think positionally, I don't think you get a right tackle in the first round. I think if you have no other needs, if you don't need a left tackle and you don't need an edge, then yeah, you can get your right tackle there. But otherwise,
and he supposedly sees them as basically the same thing as far as importance.
And I would agree with that. Much. Danny Showers disagrees, but that's okay. It's okay, Dan. It's okay for us to disagree. We all don't have to agree on the same things. We all have different perspectives that, and different things. And Dan's probably more right, but
it's what Reed has said, though.
Yeah. And I mean, Dan would just say, look at how Schwartz got paid compared to how Fisher got paid. He didn't get paid as if they valued him the same as the top left tackle or one of the top left tackles in the NFL. But
and he doesn't handle contracts, so
no. But yeah, I think it's probably most likely left tackle.
I agree.
When they traded up for McDuffie, I thought they were trading up to get Jermaine Johnson. So,
me too.
But I also think they're probably stuck with Frank for at least another year. And I don't know that they look at it as being stuck with him.
Yeah.
And I think they think that Joe Cullen is going to continue to improve the guys they have on their team.
He definitely seems to be stepping up more this year.
So,
like the last 2 years, he's been lazy. And now he's turned it on again. He's definitely made an impact today.
So,
kept seeing him flying around the edge and causing Herbert to have to move. And when he wasn't, Karlaftis seemed to be. Yeah, our line looked good today, I thought, as far as against the pass. They aren't getting home, but every time, but there was still, we got home more than he'd been sacked all season. They might have even said more than he's ever been sacked in his career. I can't remember Herbert. Where are we at?
All right. I think Joe here said, I think Frank can be had for way less money than he was. And he's stepping up more. He's not perfect, but I like him more than the last two or so. Yeah. I'd have to look at Frank's contract again, but what I remember is next year is basically a repeat of this year. Like, I hated this contract restructuring from the beginning. I'm pretty sure it just does about the exact same thing next year, and that there's a good deal of dead cap, and the cap number is high, but I'd have to look again here really quick. But anyway, Joe says Frank has definitely gotten more bend to his game.
I agree.
And I think that catches us up finally.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, let me look at this. I could be way wrong on the Frank. This restructuring, 2 years, $30 million. Frank's base salary next year is $20.5 million. He's going to have a $7.5 million cap hit for signing bonus is prorated on there. If we cut him, it's $9 million in dead cap for next year. That's a lot of money. Kind of the justification
June
this
1st
year.
is 4.5 then?
Yeah.
Over 2 years.
Yeah. But you don't get that until June 1st. So if you're wanting to, really take advantage of it in free agency, and if we can create a lot of money next year. So if they really wanted to, they could.
I think we're gonna have to restructure Mahomes no matter what.
Yeah, probably so. But yeah, I think I haven't done the math, but I think I saw up to like 90 million, 80, 90 million they can free up doing restructures and stuff for next season. So
Is Frank one of them? That wouldn't hurt horribly bad.
I mean, they could do something similar to what they did this year with that contract, but
It'd just be pushing it on though.
Yeah, and you got to bite it at some point, but kind of the philosophy. And I understand Veach's philosophy. If you cut him, then you're paying. You still have the dead cap money counting against them, and then you have to go out and you have to spend money on an edge to replace him, who is going to have basically the same dead cap, and so you're doubling the dead cap, to cut Frank and then replace Frank. So I could see where it doesn't make sense unless you have an elite edge out there who's a free agent that you can replace him with. So.
All right, we got Joe going to bed.
Yep, Joe's. Oh, I think we both clicked on that one.
You clicked it off after I had it up there for a while.
So.
Joe, we appreciate you sticking with us for this long, man.
Yeah,
3 hours and 45 minutes.
And everybody else still with us. Bill, Holly.
We appreciate you, Fox.
Everybody
Bill.
who hasn't commented but still watching. Yeah. We gotta go.
Like, subscribe, comment after. Let us know what you think. Tell us your score for the next game.
Yep. We appreciate all of you guys, but some people's got to go to work, and my kids are probably going to wake up in 3 or 4 hours, and we've been watching Home Alone, and so I've been getting woke up to the kids yelling at the pizza boy to keep the change, you filthy animal, and all this other stuff. So that's how I wake up in the morning. That's been my alarm clock the last few mornings. So
it sounds like a fun one.
Right. Yeah. Lots of reenacting of those scenes.
They're throwing paint cans at you.
No, they just
your hand.
They're just taking turns being the pizza delivery boy and yeah. So Holly's jacked on Mountain Dew.
So they're kicking you in the head. I like it.
Appreciate it, Holly. Thank you guys all for staying with us here. And end of the day, Chiefs won, so we're going to celebrate that and move on.
Absolutely.
So everyone take it easy. Have a great Monday, and we'll be back here next Saturday. So.
You got your team, and we got a kingdom. Ready